Yo, 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 what's up? Go to my settings. Video output recording. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm in the middle of fucking recording. The fuck? What a dumbass, but we'll see how that works. We'll see how that turns out. Echo! Play my notifications.
One new notification. From Amazon Shopping. There is an answer to your question about graphics card. You asked, can this card be controlled with PC software or can this only be controlled with a smartphone app using Android/iOS? A fellow customer says, I haven't used the phone app for the RGB control. I've been using the PC software, which works great. Smile. All future answers to your question will be sent to your email. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Thanks for your feedback.
Okay, well, let's go play some fucking Apex, bitch. I'm ready now. Oh, 376 alerts in YouTube. Wow, could it be people on my other channel commenting and replying? Okay, let's go to watch later. Boom. Now we're gonna wait for Vince Russo.
The only thing Garfield hates more than Mondays is drunk drivers. And so do I. I think drinking and driving is the stupidest decision a human being can make. You endanger not only yourself, but every innocent person around you. It is just a completely inexcusable, unforgivable act. There's no justifying drinking and driving, especially in the current day and age where you have unlimited access to ride sharing. There just isn't an argument you can make to even remotely justify the act of drinking and driving. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because yesterday a very big Smash Brothers Melee player named Bobby Big Balls got banned. And saying it like that actually just made it sound like a Dr. Seuss book. Bobby Big Balls gets banned. No, I do not eat green eggs and ham. Like, that kind of goes hard. But he got banned because he streamed himself drinking while driving.
Could be me, man. Hey, you know, my car's pretty old, but I ain't got no dents in this bitch. Yeah, you know the fucking vibe.
You know the
Bernard just made a
fucking
video about this
vibes.
yesterday, and he actually blurred out this part where he drinks from the wine, saying that it can actually get you a community guideline strike because it's showcasing the crime itself. So I'm just gonna play it safe and cut out the part where he actually drinks from it, but I'll show you when he finishes drinking from it, and then we'll talk about it.
I'm feeling like Michael Jackson, man. I'm feeling like it's, you know, pop right.
More like the king of poop, because this is some wild shit. Actually, the worst double joke I've ever made in my entire fucking life. But it popped into my noodle. I figured might as well let it rip with no shame. Bobby Big Balls drove himself to a 7-Eleven on stream. He got some wine, and he was feeling himself. The King of Pop was in a flow state, so he ripped open that bottle of wine and took a big swig before continuing on his journey home. And it was not a long journey ahead of him. He was only like 3 or 6 minutes away from his house. So he flushed his entire career down the shitter because he couldn't wait just 6 minutes to drink. It's just bafflingly stupid. Now, this was a situation that had a lot of meat on its bones here, so there's a lot to really pick apart and digest. So, before I do that, I want to just go ahead and quickly mention just one more time that tomorrow, September 8th, begins my first ever live event. It's a big party. We're going to be doing Q&A, meet and greet. We're also filming a music video with the audience and also doing a 1v1 Rocket League tournament with the audience, as well as a basketball trick-shotting championship where you win prizes, as well as winning prizes in the Rocket League tournament. And most importantly, we're going to be watching and cheering for our esports Apex squad as they compete for the World Championship. So the doors open at 8 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, and then 11 a.m. on Sunday. But you don't have to get there at 8 a.m. A lot of people are asking that. You can kind of show up anytime within like 5 or 6 hours because that's about how long we'll be going each day. So you can show up anytime between like 8 and noon on whatever days you want to come. So there are still some tickets available, not many. Just really would love to see it fully filled, and it should be a lot of fun. It's at the Straz Center, so I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description of this video if you want to get tickets. Now, I did post a few tweets that I'd like to go over, but before doing that, this became somewhat of a controversial topic where people were saying, like, it's only one sip, it's not like it got him hammered and he was already so close to home, what's the big deal? So what? And to that, I have to say, actual simpleton smooth brain take, so I'm going to go ahead and dumb this down so that way the glue snort amongst the life can understand. It doesn't matter if you were fucking plastered from a single sip. There is no excuse for drinking while operating a vehicle. Driving is the most dangerous activity that people engage in. Full stop. There is no reason to make it even more dangerous by adding alcohol into the mix. It endangers not only the person drinking, but every innocent person on the road around them. It is the most reckless decision you can ever make. And to top it all off in this case, all he had to do was wait 3 minutes so he could get home and then start just pounding his wine. There is no argument you can make for this not being a deserved ban. There were some alarming brain-dead locusts that kept offering the worst pseudo-intellectual takes on this situation, like, well, what's next? Are you going to start arresting people when they leave church after taking a sip from the wine? Huh? During Mass? What would happen to freedom? That old thing America was built on? You can't just take a swig of wine while driving anymore? This is ridiculous. Just classic internet cancel culture. It's literally 1984. Can't drink and drive anymore. This country's in the tubes now. Despicable. It's so painful reading that shit. Even something as cut and dry bad as drinking and driving is now leading to debate bros trying to get into the nitty-gritty on why actually you're wrong for thinking that this is a bad thing, and here's why, with the worst takes and comparisons imaginable. Before he got banished to the Shadow Realm on Twitch, Bobby Big Balls did make a tweet in response to this starting to catch some steam and blow up a bit. He said, surely one singular sip of my 12% wine on my 3-minute drive home from 7-Eleven doesn't classify as drunk driving. As a streamer, I'm wrong and will take responsibility for my actions, and if the community wants to ban me, I will humbly oblige. I am not a role model. Please don't accept my internet personality as such. I stream to make people smile through entertainment. I am not meant to be a beacon of morals and values. I am just me. Drinking is a way I cope with life. You're welcome to judge me. This is just my truth, not an excuse. Thank you, anyone who still supports me. This all just feels like minimizing the severity of what he broadcast. Because he wasn't drunk, he doesn't view it as that big of an issue. Yeah, it technically broke a law, the open container law, but he just says that he's, wrong and will accept whatever comes his way. But then he's not a role model, not like the moral beacon of values. He's not, pinky out, super gentleman or anything. Thus, it's okay. Is kind of the vibe that most people got from these tweets here. It's super weird here, the way that he, frames this whole thing. Surely one sip from my 12% wine can't classify as drunk driving. But I'm not making excuses, even though he's immediately downplaying it. And then he goes in to say that drinking is a way that he copes with life. Which of course is awful. Alcoholism is a horrible thing, so if he's using alcohol to cope with things in his life, that is just terrible, and hopefully he gets help. But it's completely irrelevant to everything that happened here. I don't know why he'd even mention it, because it's not even in the same ballpark with what just unfolded. It's not like he needed to be drinking while operating a vehicle. He was 3 minutes from home. So even if he's using alcohol to cope with his life, it's not like that has to be done at the most inappropriate times and most dangerous times imaginable. Behind the wheel of a fucking death machine. It's just, I don't know why he slid this in here. It really feels like he's just kind of shrugging his shoulders like, it is what it is. So what? Like, that's just the entire tone of the tweets. He also did make another one more recently today after the ban and said that there were a lot of people experiencing joy at his downfall and the, ruining of his career. But I just really don't think that's the case. Like, this is purely the consequences of a really bad decision he made. I don't see a lot of people celebrating, like, happy to see him go. It's more so like, yeah, that sounds about right for doing something so stupid and so dangerous on stream. Like, it is sad to see that one awful decision did ruin his career, but it's one decision that I have legitimately no respect for. This isn't just like some whoops-a-daisy mistake that, everybody makes. This is the most preventable accident. The easiest whoops-a-daisy to ever avoid. Just don't drink and drive. It's hard to have empathy in a situation like this when drunk drivers kill so many people every single year. And drinking and driving is such a real, huge problem. So, like, it is sad because I do know of this player, I do know of their career, and to see it end like this is really upsetting. But it's not like it's undeserved. I don't know if it's like a permanent ban forever. It might not be. It might only be like a week or something. Like, there's no telling right now. It's indefinite. But this is a crime he committed. And a very serious one at that, and one that I have been very vocal about for many years, about my absolute disdain for drinking and driving, drunk drivers, operating a vehicle while distracted. That also includes texting and driving, by the way. Anything that keeps your attention off of the road and puts you and everyone else on the road at risk is something I think is ridiculously stupid and fucked up. So yeah, anyway, that's really about it. So yeah.
Crap.
We haven't done a Reddit review in a
No
long
Chaser
time.
says, US. No Chaser
And I
says,
think if we're gonna do a Reddit review, I think
You
we
got
should
me
do
fucking dead to come back to you guys. First guy dies immediately, then this guy just fucking dropping stupid.
all the time.
need,
And it's
What are you
something
talking about? That's your communication after everyone dies? You decide to get on the mic? Cool.
And then somebody does this.
need, no Chaser says,
And then there's like a TPX voice that's.
DX.
We haven't done a Reddit review in a long.
No Chaser says, DX,
Sorry.
DX, DX.
Excuse me there. And I think if we're gonna do a
No
Reddit
Chaser
review, I
says,
think we should do one
DX,
on
DX,
I'm the
DX,
main
DX.
character. Like, you see those videos,
No
they come
Chaser
up on
says,
Instagram Reels,
DX,
TikTok,
DX,
YouTube all the
DX,
time.
DX.
It's like somebody at the gym.
No Chaser
We haven't
says,
done a Reddit review in a
DX,
we haven't done a Reddit
DX,
review in a
DX.
long.
Need, no Chaser says, DX, 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 DX.
We haven't done a Reddit review in a long.
No Chaser says, DX, 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 DX. Need,
Sorry.
no
Excuse me
Chaser
there.
says,
And I think if we're gonna do a
DX,
Reddit
DX,
review, I
DX,
think we should
DX,
do one
DX,
on
DX,
I'm the
DX,
main
DX,
character.
DX,
Like, you see those
DX,
videos, they
DX,
come up on
DX,
Instagram Reels,
DX,
TikTok,
DX.
YouTube all the time.
Need,
And it's like somebody
No
at the
Chaser
gym,
says,
and it's like, and they're like
DX,
filming,
DX,
and they're like doing
DX,
squats,
DX, DX, DX.
and then somebody does this,
No Chaser says,
and then there's like a
DX,
TTS voice that's
DX,
like,
DX,
this fucking
DX,
piece of
DX,
shit
DX,
ruined my gym
DX.
session by walking in front of my camera.
No Chaser
And then
says,
what happens
DX,
is this
DX,
really
DX,
ripped ass
DX,
dude
DX,
goes
DX,
like,
DX, DX,
now this is
DX,
just
DX,
despicable.
DX, DX,
If you're in the
DX,
gym,
DX,
that's a
DX,
public
DX,
space.
DX,
You
DX,
shouldn't be
DX,
expecting that
DX,
everybody
DX,
caters to
DX,
you
DX,
just because you
DX.
want to film your workout. There's nothing wrong with filming, but understand that you are the one inconveniencing others. And then there's like 500,000 likes. Joey Swole, yeah, I've seen this video or like a form of this video 100 times. And I think it kind of forms the basis of people who think they're the center of the world. However, I'm watching this from a different perspective because I'm a streamer. And as much as I would love to see somebody like that and go, ha, what a loser, I hit a go live button and I expect tens of thousands of people to show up. In fact, if not enough thousands of people show up, I get sad. I had a video that got 720,000 views on my second channel. It was a 10 of 10 and I was sad about that. That's insane. That's crazy. I'm a crazy person for thinking that. That's a weird thing that I thought in my brain. That's weird. But I would like today to do a little self-reflection, a little self-awareness, and look at some of the most self-absorbed people to maybe make myself feel better. To say, hey, not as bad as them, or maybe leave this
No, you
thinking
are.
that holy shit. I need to self-reflect and work on that. Stop! I must tell you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Alienware, a sponsor I'm super happy to talk to you guys about because I use it all the time. Specifically, Alienware's new M18 gaming laptop. This puppy's got a 13th gen Intel Core processor, an 18-inch display. This puppy? So do me a favor.
Session for the past 15. Start the Nugent to
I could work on this laptop for thumbnails or for even streams. So do me a favor. If you're in the market for a laptop, check out Alienware. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. All right, goodbye. See you later. Goodbye.
start the new gym today only to find out people don't have gym etiquette. Here I was recording my leg stretch session for the past 15 minutes, and this lady chose to squeeze the
Pause. 15 minutes? You're filming yourself doing this? Where is that video going? What are you possibly doing with that 15 minutes of content?
walk across my video, despite having a bigger space to walk through on the other side.
I almost respect the brain of someone to so instantly feel like they got fucked over. She was side-eyeing before she crossed. That level of, and I'll call it delusion. Delusion is insane. That's like, it's impressive in a way.
And here comes this guy who walked around but then chose to walk in front even though he already saw me recording.
Social media is the problem. Before you could post shit online and be like, check out this fucker, and quote retweet or drop a TikTok or film somebody doing something weird, you would have to confront them. What happened to confronting? Just confront them. If you have a problem, confront them, and then maybe they can either apologize or put you in your place if you're incorrect.
Are you kidding me? Again? Really? I have zero shame that I gave them dirty looks.
So you have no shame in giving them dirty looks, which
There it is, Joey Swole.
means you think
He's
it's
always so red. Why is he that red?
okay that you got upset for walking through your video when you set your camera up in front of the walkway to a dumbbell rack. If you look at that sign above your head, it says, please put equipment away after use. It doesn't say, please look out for people filming, then put your weights back.
Damn, Joey,
The
tell
gym
us.
is a shared space. You need to respect other people. If you can't do that, stay home.
Jeez,
Don't give you no priority.
Wait, do you play chess? Is that a giant chess piece in the back?
Mind your own business. Be better than that.
I mean, shit. I'd be giving her a dirty look. For the belt? You're not even activating the core anymore, you know?
They literally ruined the shot. It's extremely rude to see someone obviously recording and walk in front of the camera setup. Please learn gym etiquette, sweetie.
Okay, alright, I'll learn gym etiquette, you know? Yoko Ono can't get enough attention, so starts wailing during her husband and Chuck Berry's performance. I feel like people over-exaggerate how bad Yoko Ono is. I know of Yoko Ono's hate train. I don't know of Yoko Ono outside of it, but I feel like people exaggerate. I feel like she's... I don't know. Let's just watch it. Maybe that's wrong. Yet another dickhead doing whatever this is. I like his friend going, damn, how did this happen? Well, how could this possibly have happened when all we did was just trespass into an area on private property we weren't supposed to? New main character.
Party girl, she just wild.
See, that's someone who deserves to be the main character. USPS worker. Yep, it's the American government. Let's get new trucks for our USPS drivers. Too long have they been driving those rectangular pieces of shit. Too long are they suffering in the heat with those dusty ass vehicles. Maybe make them electric, you know? Do some green switch if you want. Let's fix the trucks. Get them some AC in there. Influencer in an aquarium.
Enemy spotted.
Okay, I'm conflicted. Because I think wholly, this doesn't harm it. Maybe unless they're like loitering for too long. Green switch if you want. Let's fix the trucks. Get them some AC in there. Influencer in an aquarium. Okay, I'm conflicted. Because I think wholly, this doesn't harm it. Maybe unless they're like loitering for too long. It doesn't harm it. However, it is so cringe. It is so just insanely cringe. What the biggest harm it causes is cringe by AoE attack. But it doesn't necessarily like hurt anyone to go to the aquarium and then I guess act like you've never seen fish before, or I guess act like you're Ariel trying to, you know, get out of her grotto. I don't know what the goal was here, but this is just cringe. And I think cringe is better than the gym stuff. My brain doesn't allow me to do this. I wish it did. I wish I had this level of ignorance to those around me and the lack of self-awareness. Then I could go into an aquarium and go, and take a oddly weird Instagram video and maybe some cool Instagram photos. But I can't. And because of that, the pictures I end up posting on Instagram are just me half the time going like this. Because my dumbass doesn't know how to like post for a picture in any place that's public because I don't feel natural. It is in fact, a flaw of mine because it would help my job if I was better. But I'm not better. So I don't know. I'm conflicted here. See, I would argue, in a way, what she does is a net positive because it adds joy because people are able to make fun of her cringe. Main character is surprised the world doesn't revolve around.
People just walking in front of it like. People just walking in front of it like we're on recording.
I can see where people, none of it's intentional. Contribute to violence, we can contribute to incompetence. It's not more likely that they're all in their own worlds doing their own thing, paying attention to the world around them. We all do it every day, whether you're driving, walking down the street. All of our lives are just as complex as everybody else's. Everything you have going on, they have going on. Nobody knows what everybody else is going through. We also need to be a little more self-aware and aware of the world around us.
I don't know how we found this person to interview. I assume it was random bypasser. Why? A wise bypasser. Trait that can't be overwhelming at times.
You gotta dig deep to find the deep things. If all you ever do in your life is stay at the surface, you'll never find anything worth exploring.
He's writing his own meditations out. In 200 years, I don't know what this guy's name is. We're gonna read his book.
Are you real?
I tried to be.
Even that, insane. He doesn't miss. The best kind of main character. What is this? Is this like what Canadians do in the winter? They shouldn't be outside. It's after skiing. Oh,
Seeing it on.
The vaping smoke screen. Holy shit, that's fire. Okay, you know what this reminds me of? I feel like there's two polarizing sides, and it's like one is people who want to be a part of order. Like, you know, fall in line is a bad term. But like they want to be a part of a larger group. They don't want to stand out. They just want everyone to be like considerate of other people and get through the day, you know? And then there's people who consider themselves the main character. This can be terrible. Like this person is usually always people who conform. They're generally always fine unless they conform into something that's bad. But this person can be dangerous because they can be super cringe, like some of the gym people we saw, or they can be amazingly infectious with their character. Usually, you know, the people you read about in books or whatever are going to end up, you know, being this person here because of their infectious personality. The one video that always comes to mind to describe the good version of that extreme is this guy. So there was this music festival
What you talking about?
over 10 years ago. And this guy, you can see, is going crazy dancing. And instantly you can see the flaw with being someone who diverts from the crowd. And the crowd has decided to mostly sit down because they're being filmed, right? Like there's a reason they're being filmed, and it's because what they are doing is weird. Someone has decided to film them because they are out of the ordinary. There's a reason they're not filming the people sitting down, and they're filming the one guy standing up dancing. And so there's like 3 reactions. 1, ignore it, which most people are doing. 2, film it because it's weird. And then 3, join in. And so this person also joins in to go crazy. And a lot of respect to the second guy to make it seem less awkward and cringe by being the second person here. But very quickly, you have a third person join in. And if you guys have never seen this video before, I'm going to fast forward just 1 minute.
This is that Bigfoot Fest or whatever. It's Squatch Fest. This is that Squatch Fest, and everyone just comes running.
Crazy. This video blows my mind. Like how quickly it goes from one guy solo dancing, awkward and weird, so he's being filmed, to 2 people, you know, brave soldier following suit, to I feel weird if I'm not joining it. Like I feel FOMO sitting next to this and not being a part of this thing growing. Anyway, that's the good kind of main character, kind of like this guy. When moving to NYC isn't like the movies. And they're up at sunrise, soaking in the city. We're in the fucking city, bitch. We've been up all night. Yes. Yes. That her screaming.
Selkix says, we will crack.
Shut the fuck up. Relax. I'm not.
Says,
guy solo dancing, awkward and weird, so he's being filmed, to 2 people, you know, brave soldier following suit, to I feel weird if I'm not joining. Like I feel FOMO sitting next to this and not being a part of this thing growing. Anyway, that's the good kind of main character, kind of like this guy. When moving to NYC isn't like the movies. And they're up at sunrise, soaking in the city. We're in the fucking city, bitch. We've been up all night. Yes. Yes. Is that her screaming? Shut the fuck up. Relax. I'm not relaxing. You're gonna shut the fuck up. Yeah, that is a snap back to reality. They were having a moment out there. You know, look, I like a good moment like anybody else. Like, you know when I have this main character moment? I think everybody has it. If I'm at the airport, I'm listening to this song and I'm walking around. And that's me living my moment in life like this. And I'm just walking around like it's the fucking first day of wrestling. But, you know, I don't do it on the top floor of an apartment complex at 6 a.m. when other people are sleeping around me. I'm just walking through an airport pretending my life's dope. Taking aesthetic video in London Underground, be like... And I'm walking around like it's the fucking first day of wrestling. But, you know, I don't do it on the top floor of an apartment complex at 6 a.m. when other people are sleeping around me. I'm just walking through an airport pretending my life's dope. Taking aesthetic video in London Underground, be like... What are you LARPing as like a blue-collar worker who needs to use public transportation? What is it? So stupid. Yeah, you're at the fucking subway station, dude. Like, people are using the tube to get to work and shit. Like, I get so annoyed at every look at the camera because I know every look at the camera is like a desire to connect with the viewer. And like, isn't this annoying? And my thought is like, no, it's not. It's not annoying that they're watching. It's annoying that you're getting mad about it. My little sister saw her moment, she took it. Oh, kids are the problem. I'm getting so annoyed at every look at the camera because I know every look at the camera is like a desire to connect with the viewer. And like, isn't this annoying? And my thought is like, no, it's not. It's not annoying that they're watching. It's annoying that you're getting mad about it. My little sister saw her moment, she took it. Oh, kids are the problem. Because when little kids act like the main character, it's funny and cute, and they get adoration, and then they grow up wanting that same adoration, and where do they find it but acting the same they did when they were young? Children are the problem in how we treat them differently.
That's me. That's me. I'm single and available. I'm single and okay. I'm gonna go now. Okay, I'm single and available though.
That was horrible. That was so horrible. I don't want to watch anymore. That was horrible. I'm gonna wrap it up there. Maybe we'll look at some more later. That was Jesus Christ. Rockstar has been caught selling pirated versions of their own games on Steam. If you look at their logo, it makes more sense, since their favorite letter is obviously R. I'm Riley Murdoch, this is GameLinked, and these are the Steam files for Midnight Club 2 that mark this copy of the game as a cracked, pirated version, according to developer Silent on Twitter. They just had to speak out. They were inspired to investigate after YouTuber Vadim M proved that 2 other Rockstar titles, Max Payne 2 and Manhunt, were also originally plundered. Rockstar's reasoning isn't entirely clear, but it seems like they needed to remove a type of DRM that required the game's retail CD to be in the drive when you play. So the studio grabbed a cracked version online and uploaded it for sale on Steam instead of removing the DRM themselves. The only problem is, the original versions of these games had 2 DRM defenses. One made by Sony to prevent copying, and one made by Rockstar that would activate several Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap cards meant to punish crackers for tampering with files. They were all very white. That's a slur. Will be banned on Twitch. When Rockstar got caught selling cracked copies, they again took a shortcut and simply replaced the pirated .exe file with an authentic file that had the copy protection forcibly removed. Then, their own anti-tamper software was activated, turning the Steam version of the game into an unplayable minefield meant for pirates, while the actual pirates who torrented the cracked game were sailing smooth seas. And that's why you don't join the Navy. Nintendo apparently had closed-door demonstrations of the Switch's successor for external developers at Gamescom, according to a report by Eurogamer and corroborated by Video Games Chronicle. Apparently, partners were shown a Nintendo-powered-up version of Breath of the Wild that supported a higher frame rate and resolution than the original game. Honestly, it's saying much. But the red-pilled chads at Nintendo...
Doc and me have seen a time. This win is ours.
Memory's a terrible thing. Don't worry.
You and I will survive together.
Remember.
Introducing your champion.
Nintendo also showed off the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, which was originally created to demonstrate the power of the PS5 and Xbox Series X. The Switch 2 Electric Boogaloo reportedly achieved ray tracing and visuals comparable to current-gen consoles, with the use of NVIDIA's DLSS AI upscaling. Press X to doubt, but hey, almost as good as current-gen. While the performance claims may be shocking, the closed-door demo actually isn't, given recent reports that some key partners already have dev kits for the upcoming console that is rumored to launch next year. So get ready for next year's brand new, gritty, muscular, photorealistic Mario. One look at his glutes and you'll be saying, "Oh, mamma mia."
Speaking of Mario, Nintendo's Shigeru Miyamoto finally explained what being a Mario ambassador actually means for Charles Martinet, the voice of the character since 1996, who admitted he didn't know what his new job was just 3 days ago. I'm sure Martinet was ecstatic when Nintendo of America posted a video on Twitter featuring an explanation of ambassadorial duties delivered by the one and only Charles Martinet. Oh, thank goodness.
Mario just has immunity? Can he commit crimes in the Mushroom Kingdom?
He can go in and out of the UN since they let him go. No pat down. In the video, just before Miyamoto expresses his heartfelt gratitude to Martinet for his years of work, Charles explains that he'll be traveling the world and attending events to meet with fans and sign autographs, meaning that Nintendo gave him a made-up title and their permission to continue to attend fan conventions like he's already been doing. Wow, here we thought he would be giving speeches to the UN, fighting for the work safety rights of Italian plumbers. They don't need to be chased by ghosts and homing bullets while they're just trying to fix a leaky pipe. It's the most dangerous 3D animated profession. Now it's time for Quick Bits, brought to you by XSplit. Take your live streaming to the next level with XSplit's cutting-edge broadcasting and video production tools. Listen, I know sleep streams are a thing, but your audience shouldn't be falling asleep too, because that doesn't make any sense. Keep your viewers awake with slick transitions, multiple audio tracks, and image and video looping. Check out XSplit today at lmg.gg/XSplit and use code Linus for an eye-opening 69% off your first purchase or subscription. Really learn something there. Something on the Quick Bits. Copies of this year's Mortal Kombat 1 have leaked early, spoiling plot details and the entire fighting roster just a week before the game's official launch, which everyone's very excited about despite it being the first one. This is the biggest Mortal Kombat 1 leak since it accidentally ended up on an arcade cabinet in 1992. In a complete shock, it was leaked that the game is trying to compete with Warzone's celebrity operator meta by making Megan Fox a fighter.
Oh man, I can't wait to rip out Megan Fox's spine. That's fun.
Not only that, but a leaked video from the official Mortal Kombat YouTube channel has revealed that Fox is a vampire.
That's a fox.
Hell of a way to come out. Cool. That explains why her fiance, Machine Gun Kelly, looks so frail. It's Peter.
It's juice box.
Now that's love.
Captain Sun.
Ubisoft's pirate game Skull and Bones has lost its third creative director since being announced way back in 2017, lending credence to rumors that the project crossed the wrong sea witch and now harbors a mighty terrible curse. To be fair, the now departed Elizabeth Pellin has overseen the game's development since 2018, so it's not like Ubisoft was regularly making game directors walk the plank. Ubisoft told Kotaku that Pellin had fulfilled her mission to reboot the game's creative direction, and that it's not uncommon for a creative director to move on to a new project or role, which may or may not involve roaming the seafloor as a reanimated skeleton. That's just showbiz. Blizzard has confirmed that Diablo 4 will be following the Destiny 2 model of releasing a new expansion.
Yeah, they're chasing. Nice job pushing him.
Someone's out there.
I've got your back. Remember me tell you.
Let's make this fast. There's a hot bath waiting for me.
If I may be honest, I find death
and don't
dummy
die too
food.
quick, eh?
I'm a man of science.
This is your champion. Well then, why don't we land there?
I suggest this landing location.
Who am I? The kind of witch you don't mess with.
Prepare for sudden death.
I'm drawn to that spot. I sense an enemy out there. With my eyes. Exploring.
An enemy lands near me. Watch yourself.
The target has landed in my proximity. I have shattered a subject's shield, leaving a gas trap behind. Placing an independent variable.
God, I'm not fucking dealing with that.
You are fortunate we are on the same team.
Fast with that trigger.
Evo shield here. Level 2.
Down. Contact with target.
Down to subject. Death will have to wait. Recharging shields.
I can't even get anything. Why would you drop here? You guys are fucking idiots, and I can't even leave this game because I'm in some fucking ranked game right now. The fuck? God, tell me you're dumb.
We are inside the next ring. I'm at
Come on, Mister. Say hello. Recharging my shield.
Fucking coward.
Are you talking to me?
Looks like
Maybe if you weren't such a bitch every fucking game, you'd actually be good.
What are you even talking about?
I don't know. Figure it out.
We're taking out the kill leader. Good work.
Why don't you figure it out? You dropped me at some hotspot where I had no fucking gun. What are you talking about, bro?
I rezzed you. Shut the fuck up.
Who cares if you rezzed me?
Who cares?
Why did you have to res me? You fucking had to res me because you guys hot dropped into some place where it was... Man, get a better fucking mic. Jesus Christ, how much feedback do you think's going on right now?
All of it.
Pero verga.
Yeah, chupe el microte.
Pinches gringos de mierda.
Ah, gringo.
Tu madre, güey.
Gringos shut this fuck up, perros.
No seas pinche puñal también.
and get your birthday present.
I have located.
Deploying health drone.
Follow my lead, guys. You guys will be alright.
Took some materials.
Optics here.
He's the one that makes you feel alright. Like to feel good. That makes you
Extended heavy mag here. Level 3. Extended heavy mag here. Level 3.
Do you guys feel better?
Half the squads are gone.
Evo shield here. Level 2. I need a hop-up. Turbocharger. Got a hop-up here. Disruptor.
Round 2. Beginning ring countdown.
Next ring's far.
I've divined the ring's next location and marked it on your maps.
Attention. Delivering replicator.
We should conduct a search right here.
Here's your birthday present.
I am placing an evac tower. Here, a deployed evac tower.
Medkit here. Rings nearby, 1 minute till close.
Wow, looks like we have enemies.
Spotted a subject.
45 seconds to put yourself in the ring. The enemy's far off. Firing.
Attention. There is a new kill leader.
New kill leader. Eyes out for him.
The enemy's far.
You guys want to fight them? You know.
I have no sights, but okay.
Opening. I'm getting shot.
I have shattered a subject's shield. Reloading.
Sorry.
Recharging shields. Quick, go here.
Taking fire. Correct
In
subject.
progress.
Real subject down.
Strong enough to pierce.
A second squad. Lay down to me. Grenade.
They're focusing on me. A support formation.
Enemy spotted.
Drop.
You hear that? There's a care package coming down.
Great fight. You guys are real good.
Also right here.
Tell me how you picked me up again. What did that do for you?
Expansion every year. Passionate fans of the series were so excited by the news that they threatened to uninstall the game, presumably overwhelmed with joy. Diablo 4's live service model, which also includes a seasonal battle pass, has already come under fire for microtransactions that tip the scale into macro transactions. It's not clear yet how much the expansions will cost, just that players aren't getting nickel and dimed so much as quartered and dollared.
British fans, meanwhile, will be getting pounded.
They got it rough over there. Meanwhile, Nintendo has announced that they have no current plans for any Zelda Tears of the Kingdom DLC. That's because the development team feels they've exhausted every opportunity to create new gameplay in the worlds created for Breath of the Wild. Which, considering that this last game introduced crafting, an all-new suite of abilities, and unmanned drone strikes, honestly, fair enough. Does this mean that Nintendo is done with The Legend of Zelda, a game that Nintendo has been remaking again and again since 1986? Absolutely not. Nintendo will be milking this IP until the sun explodes. And Starfield players on PC can use console commands to cheat, doing everything from no clipping through walls to instant killing all enemies in the area. And turns out, Xbox players... And Starfield players on PC can use console commands to cheat, doing everything from no clipping through walls to instant killing all enemies in the area. And turns out, Xbox players can get a little taste of that same power, thanks to the game's cross-save support. Downloading and running the game through the Xbox app on even a potato PC allows you to enter cheats, then save your game, which will then be accessible on your Xbox again with the cheats enabled. Now, you'll lose the ability to unlock achievements unless you install the mod that turns it back on. Just like in real life, the answer to cheating is often more cheating. I understand. This is the only way. I don't want it. And you should be all the way down to come back on Tuesday for more Game Night. If you do, I won't tell your mom that you're cheating. She'd be so disappointed.
We are so far into the future that companies are attempting to profit off the loneliness of men by saying, think about it in a delusional way, it's an AI. And no, it doesn't. Like, don't you think that AI has to do everything?
I think that AI girlfriend could not advance.
I just keep on disappointing.
Have you ever used like an AI girlfriend program?
I have not. Really?
I'm sure that will change. I'm certain that will change. That these AI girlfriends will have much better recall.
Mm-hmm.
And
but she's not gonna like use like the Wi-Fi to order me some flowers because I'm a sensitive guy. Like she's never gonna do anything I don't expect her to do. Like she's never gonna surprise me.
that's kind of how something that's concerned me in particular about the AI girlfriend thing is that like most of these AI girlfriends so far, and like most AI in general, is like kind of only like it almost takes like the improv theory of like yes and like it won't really say no to you or like combat what you're saying. Like it'll pretty much only just like build off of what you've said and what you're asking it to do.
Apparently, the Karen AI website states that the team spent over 2,000 hours designing and coding the chatbot to create a truly immersive AI experience. An AI company referred to as Forever Voices claims to have developed the chatbot by analyzing her now deleted YouTube content and layering it into OpenAI's GPT-4. John Mayer, not the singer, who's apparently the CEO of Forever Voices, tweeted how excited he was for the partnership, calling it an incredible step forward in the future of AI-human interaction. Back in May, Karen tweeted she now has over 20,000 boyfriends. That's totally normal and okay. I won't judge you or be jealous because I wish women would buy this technology and I could put myself out there. I'm not jealous.
You know, I think that like a lot of the people who are really like excited about AI porn and AI girlfriends and stuff right now, they are really like gleeful about the idea that women who are currently like making money on OnlyFans or something will no longer be able to do that. They're like gleeful about the idea that they can like avoid women entirely And they really enjoy the unhuman element. Like it is like the ultimate sex toy.
You tweeted this image. I think I would have to go back too far into Twitter. You tweeted like these girls, and they're like the sexiest body girls and the prettiest face, and then it was revealed that they're fake.
Yeah. Yes. And it looked kind of fake.
But hold on to your pictures because the AI rabbit hole goes even deeper than you thought.
Making an AI-generated model, girlfriend, idol, whatever you want to call it, where you can input any text description and the AI will generate a picture of just that.
While Karen Marjorie is using AI to combat loneliness, there are others out there who have taken AI in a, let's say, more risque direction. Brace yourself for the world of AI-generated, not safe for work images. Yes, you heard me, fool. Artificial intelligence is getting downright steamy. They look good. Am I going to be the only one that admits that, damn, they look good? Picture this. All you need to do is input a description or a set of parameters, and voila, AI gets to work flexing its creative neurons to generate an image that aligns with your horny description. Or perhaps it takes it to a whole newer level. It's like having an AI-powered Picasso, except instead of cubism, it's about boners.
I mean, if you look closely, like they had a finger or whatever. Like, so there was one where it was like four blonde like quadruplets in lingerie. And it's like, well, wouldn't that be nice? Like, I don't really think that exists. Like,
I think that was the one that actually tricked me. I saw a couple of those.
Like, well, I'm not the finger or whatever. Like, so there was one where it was like four blonde like quadruplets in lingerie. And it's like, well,
That
wouldn't that be
lingerie.
nice? Like, I don't really think that exists. Like,
I think that was the one that actually tricked me. I saw a couple of those that you tweeted, but it was the one where all the girls were blonde, and then the caption was like, "These girls aren't even real," and I was like, "Whoa," because they all looked very similar except slightly different.
yeah, so they look like they're all sisters and everything.
Yeah.
But it is like, let's think about it. Like, why would these four blonde, beautiful sisters like all be together in lingerie and like smiling? Like, what are the circumstances of this besides like porn or something? But like, I don't. It just doesn't. It doesn't add up.
And let's be honest, men don't want it to make sense. I think my friend underestimates how down bad a lot of, if not most, men are. The human element of internet sexy videos just doesn't matter to so many people. This new sexy AI porn girl thing is a little bit terrifying because it doesn't kind of get people used to a super unrealistic expectation of what people should look like. Is there any good use of it?
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, some people argue that AI companions could help reduce loneliness and improve mental health for people who might not have access to or be comfortable with traditional forms of human companionship. So, what do you think of this idea? And do you think it's ethical to create AI companions solely for the purpose of providing emotions?
I don't know. That's a really hard question.
Depends on who you're talking about.
No offense, but for the people, we all have mental health issues. I'm talking about for the people who really, they're like, I can't talk to a person. I'm so up the edge. Like, I'm in the mental health institution. Like, should we give those people?
I think yes. I guess a comparison I'm thinking off the top of my head is like sometimes like dementia patients being given like plastic baby dolls. And it's like they really treat that like that's like a real living baby and it makes them happy. Or that's not. I don't think that's hurting anybody. I guess what needs to be weighed in those situations is like, will the presence of like an AI companion further prevent this person
from developing their own relationships and socially stunt them?
Living an otherwise normal
If they
life.
start thinking that other things are going to act and respond to them the way that their AI does,
They are
then
too
that
gaunt. Like they
stunt
don't
them
really
and
have
they
much
will
hope
definitely have issues.
And
Or
so
if they're
giving
just
them an
gonna
AI
pick whatever they're
companion
doing, then
doesn't pose
don't
like
expect for
a
others
harm
to
to
act the same way.
They'll
They'll
the
understand
chances
how
of that
to
aren't of that happening.
somewhat normally in society,
Yeah,
then let
yeah.
them be.
And I'm thinking far into the future. So, like, let's say, you know, ChatGPT is still being trained. Let's say, like, you know, 50, 70 years in the future, and the robots, or, you know, the physical model of a robot is enough that we could put the brain of the ChatGPT into a person. And, you know, imagine you can tailor your companion. You're like, oh, I want the big naturals. Turn the big naturals all the way up. I don't like ass. Turn the ass all the way down. Like,
ass all the way down.
he's a weirdo. He doesn't want that shit. Do you think it's unethical for people to be able to physically make their own companion? And men too. She like, I want his thing so tiny, and him to always compliment me 37 times an hour.
Yeah, I think that is unethical. Again, like to my other point that like that would make you harmful to society to have that power and to just exploit it, and like it just makes you feel like you live in a world where things go exactly how you want them to go, and that like you live in a world that's built to please you. And I think that would make you a bad person.
That can't be good. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, as awesome as it sounds to any guy who's like, I'm gonna design my own girl like Sim, she's gonna be my girlfriend and talk to me like the way I am. That's gonna make you not value life as much as you should, because when you want to change something, you're just gonna change it.
Manuel
And that's
Rayano
not
says,
what life is
we should
about.
mow.
Life is about its ups and downs,
Manuel
and
Rayano
having
says,
issues with people,
Where-
and solving
where are we going?
conversation, not reprogramming of the sub-processors, subroutines. Like, it's about talking and communicating.
Yeah, I agree. I think so.
So is there any good in all of this technology? Obviously, there are a ton of people on Earth who truthfully struggle socially. People who honestly believe they don't have enough confidence to approach a real-life woman, even if their life depends on it. So the technology is this help in some way.
Let's go. Take the evac tower if you're doing it. Where you going, buddy?
Is already inside of it. Could maybe a fake AI girlfriend be the training wheel of some need to realize that we are all worthy of love, and rejection is just a simple and necessary part of life? Probably not. So go on her Substack.
Do you want me to plug it now?
Yeah.
Magdalene.substack.com.
Go on Magdalene's Substack. All right, y'all. It'll be a good time, I promise you. What kind of writing do you be doing on that?
I write a lot about sex and culture and masculinity. I even have a little essay about AI porn and things of that nature. So.
Okay. I've decided recently that I kind of want to be a role model in the masculinity world.
Okay.
I see where it's going, and it's going to guys who aren't like me, because I'm very feminist. And they're like, oh, you gotta be misogynist, and I'm like, no.
Right.
I'm not really into the whole misogyny.
The Switch 2 is imminent, and it's going to be powerful. It's going to be robust like you are. Skip it up. So you know, until recently, I have stayed away from Switch news, as it kind of got really redundant after a while. It's like, hey, the Switch 2 is coming, or Focus, or Super Nintendo Switch. I actually think that kind of sounds cool, but a lot of people don't agree with me on that one. Whatever the hell they're going to call it, Nintendo is working on the successor of the Switch. And it seems to be even more impressive than we thought. If you remember when they were talking about a Switch Pro or Switch 2...
I don't know how that works. You're in the storm. I turn and I'm shooting you. In the storm. But you live.
Which, at the time when those rumors were emerging, keep in mind that could have been the Switch Pro as well, it would have been adequate, but in 2023, no. Like, there's a reason that the 8th gen consoles are no longer getting games made for them finally. But we're hearing some real interesting things about the next gen Switch, and it's going to be impressive. Very impressive. Let's start off with some information from GizmoChina.com. Now, keep in mind, again, even though these sources are legitimate websites, it's rumors. this could be a pile of crap and none of it could be true, so take it with a super small grain of salt. Thank you. Let's continue. According to recent reports, a few leaks about the Nintendo Switch 2 have emerged online from a leaker called I'm a Hero 2, suggesting how the Nintendo Switch 2 will perform. The post by the leaker mentions that the Nintendo Switch 2 is in development and the developers are testing the Final Fantasy VII Remake port on Switch 2. For those unaware, Final Fantasy VII Remake was initially released on PlayStation 5
There's
and
one
was
on me.
ported on PC after a while. So that kind of shows you the capabilities of the Switch 2, if this rumor is to be believed. It doesn't mean that it's as powerful as a PS5. Probably it's nowhere near it, but with all of the technology that's out there, like deep learning super sampling and fidelity effects, which 3 is around the corner, there's going to be a lot of things they could do with less powerful hardware. And I'm sure the Switch 2 is going to be significantly more powerful than the 2017
Manuel Arellano
Switch.
says,
Obviously, they're
GG.
obvious. So combine together the hardware upgrades with the other technologies that are out there, like fidelity effects and deep learning super sampling, and that'll help make the Switch 2
I've already
an
heard you talk
monster.
about this, bro.
Holy shit, my screen got so loud. He was in China when
What is up, all you gorgeous peeps? Welcome back. Good morning to you. Have some liquids in you, okay? You're going to need it to hydrate because last week we talked about a story. Whoa, I didn't even do that on purpose. We talked about a Fortnite player and streamer, not known as Hydrate, but actually known as Hydra, who unfortunately decided that live on stream he was going to crack a joke that was incredibly inappropriate. And, well, he went viral for it, as he said that he said he was a child. Here's a clip.
Okay, retarded. Oh my god. But it's like, no, I like kids. No, I swear to God, I'm a little child predator.
What the fuck? What the absolute fuck? Are you? That sounded like someone with Tourette.
And this going viral on several platforms as news outlets picked this one up, and he himself also tweeted about this shortly thereafter because, as you guessed it, when you crack a joke like that and then you go viral being seen by potentially millions of people and millions of impressions, Twitch has to respond, as he was then given a warning and then soon after given a indefinite suspension, as Twitch typically does with their more serious cases. Well, that decision has now been reversed after his open apology begging Twitch to actually unban him because he's finally been successful, and also admitting that he deserved the ban because of his wrong decision and terrible joke. It is now Twitch who has reversed their choice to permanently ban him, as he posted his appeal being accepted and Twitch accepting his apology and appeal, and he is now back and live on Twitch after serving a 7-day ban for the disgusting joke. And this might be a really hot take. I'm super curious what you guys think about this, because Twitter ripped this kid to shreds initially, and even after the decision. I'm actually okay with this choice to reverse the ban. I think it could have been a bit longer, 2 weeks, maybe a month, but I don't think the kid, I believe he's 19 years old, should be punished for life for making a terrible, terrible joke. And I can almost guarantee he's probably learned his lesson. My one caveat to this, I will say, if you are willing to unban him for saying that terrible joke after 7 days, the Twitch hypocrisy kind of seems a bit off to me, because there are many other creators out there who have been banned for doing things that I would deem, if not as bad, maybe even less bad. It really depends who you're asking, right? People out there who have served month-long indefinite suspensions, or maybe still banned by Twitch. You gotta wonder, like, okay, you're going to unban this kid, Twitch, how about you reevaluate all of your cases? And what do you guys think about this? And forever, he is going to be tortured as the kid who made that joke, right? And rightfully so. For a while, he's been made fun of because let's just hit you with a couple of examples as well. The first one I think about is iShowSpeed, who has now been banned on Twitch for, I believe, around 2 years for making a very, very insensitive joke when I believe he was 17 years old. The joke was incredibly bad. I would say just as bad, maybe a bit worse than this one of this streamer, but he's been serving his ban for almost 2 years on Twitch, and people feel differently on Speed and his ban and whether or not he should be let back. But that's 2 years. I think about one of my buddies out there. His name is Scumnut. If you guys know the story of his Twitch ban, he was actually banned indefinitely, has still been banned to this day. I believe over a year, maybe longer. Actually, I think it might be 3 years now. He has been banned because someone came into his chat. One of his friends came into his chat. Scumnut told him, "I'm going to kick you to death." But the irony of the situation is he just did, I believe the game was, I think it was Elden Ring. Forgive me if I'm wrong. It was a game where he did a kick-only run. It was a joke. He did a kick-only run on the bosses, and so his friend comes into chat and he goes, "I'm going to kick you to death." And he posted a whole video about it. The video went viral. I covered it too. He is still banned to this day. There are so many other Twitch bans out there, which would be a little bit hypocritical if you look at this unbanning. And it just goes to show you that Twitch has banned so many people, they can only look at so many cases at a time. So I would urge them to look back at some of these others if you're willing to unban this one. Otherwise, yeah, it is what it is. What do you guys think about this? Till next time, take care. I told you it was going to be a busy week, okay? Till next time, take care of yourselves. All right, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you back here sometime soon.
Today I want to talk about how you're not traumatized. You're probably just hurt. There's a disturbing trend lately where psychobabble in the zeitgeist has been distorted, twisted, and sometimes even weaponized. This has given the people the idea that they can prioritize selfish, uncommunicative behavior under the guise of self-care, misuse psychological concepts like trauma and abuse, and diagnose others who have hurt them in order to dismiss their own pain. Now, terms like gaslighting and attachment and emotional labor have bled into the social lexicon, giving people everywhere permission to cut out the toxic people at the slightest hint of discomfort, conflict, or disagreement. People are literally slinging armchair diagnoses of narcissism, PTSD, or sociopathy around like they're an Oprah-themed popped open piñata, right? You get a diagnosis, you get a diagnosis. And though this trend has its upsides, it encourages people to get help, it gives them the tools to recognize patterns that aren't working for them, it provides language to more accurately communicate their feelings. It also has a really stark downside, which is that this blunted lens has warped our view of relationships. We're not seeing them as nuanced and complex dynamics that require an ongoing dialogue, but as a one-way transaction. There has been so much rhetoric online lately that encourages disconnection over communication, or language that insists your needs be placed above all else. And this kind of black and white thinking completely ignores that we live in a messy world, and sometimes our relationships will require compromise. I don't think you can go into any interpersonal dynamic expecting that your needs are going to be met 100% of the time. That's just not realistic. And because there's so much Instagram therapy going around, I want to clarify my personal philosophy of what I believe our approach should be. So I think you should put your own needs above other people's wants, but put other people's needs over your wants. I think putting other people's needs over your own needs is at times necessary, and it's also a very kind, loving sacrifice to make. However, putting your needs over other people's needs is also sometimes necessary, and a kind, loving, protective thing to do. And this dance of deciding whose needs take priority, this is a case-by-case basis that should be balanced based on your best judgment. Look, boundaries are meant to keep people in, not out. Being unclear is unkind, so communicate your feelings instead of avoiding conflict. And being triggered, look, that's actually a gift to see what you need to work on, not a way to censor other people. Yes, we should all be very considerate, but if you're seeing triggers more in terms of censoring others rather than an opportunity for self-exploration, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. All of these tools are meant to help us navigate relationship dynamics. They're meant to help us repair inevitable
I got hit from behind.
They're meant to protect our ability to remain engaged. But if you're using therapy speak as an excuse to ice people out, diagnose someone post-mortem your relationship, or set rules for another person's behavior, you are misusing them in an attempt to justify your own victim mentality, insecurity, or ego. Like, we can't cherry pick our popular therapeutic concepts to support whatever our current state of mind is. Because when we do, we're really just dismissing our own feelings. So if you say, he is such a narcissist, to lay blame on someone else, you're probably really avoiding, I feel abandoned and discarded. If you say, I'm setting a boundary, when you're really stonewalled, you're probably just avoiding, I feel unloved, and a vulnerable conversation. If you say, she's so toxic, when you've never communicated how you felt, you're really just avoiding, I feel hurt by this person. And to say, he's gaslighting me, when he's just
How does this keep?
Just when you thought you knew everything about Google's next phones, think again. Yes, all we need now is like an unboxing because Google just spilled the beans on everything for Pixel 8 Pro. Rumors point to an interesting set of camera upgrades, but not all for the Pro iPhones. And it seems Samsung is working on another fan edition, but it's not what you think. I'm Jaime Rivera, and how much do leaks of other phones influence you to consider iPhones next week? Because that's an interesting practice. Let me know in the comments. This is Poggin Outtake. There are no official news today. Those are coming next week. But let's start the video with Apple, since Ming Chi Kuo just gave us a few updates that are both sad and kind of distant. The only reason we're covering them seriously is because it's coming from Kuo. First, remember the whole thing of Apple bringing 5G modems to the next iPhone SE or something? Well, it seems that's gonna have to wait until like 2025, and to be honest, I care more about that iPhone SE than anything, and the problem is that this pretty much cements the rumors we covered back in July that the new iPhone SE was delayed until 2025 due to the mass production issues, which I guess Kuo just confirmed. The report mentions that Cupertino has been working on this chip for like 5 years now, and based on that 2025 timeframe, iPhone 15 and 16 models are expected to stick to Qualcomm modems. Now, it is unclear if an Apple design modem would have any consumer benefits over Qualcomm modems, but if the company's Apple Silicon is any indication, it's hard to not speculate that there could be a benefit. We'll see. Now let's talk about Samsung, since we have new details about an upcoming FE device that's not what you think. Earlier today, a certification document has been leaked online showcasing the upcoming Galaxy Buds FE, aligning with previous rumors of the company focusing on bringing FE products more often. The biggest surprise is that the Buds FE adopt the same design of the Galaxy Buds, which I understand because it probably is pretty hard to change the look of something so small. It's likely that the Galaxy Buds FE take on some sort of improvements made by Samsung within the past couple of years and implement them into tried and true designs. Now, as for the rest of the specifics, we don't really know much, or if it will come with ANC or pass-through in any capacity, nor do we have any information on the driver type or size. Now, as for the pricing, we can assume that the FE variant will come in a more reasonable price. I mean, for reference, the Galaxy Buds 2 Pro are right now for $230, Buds 2 are $150. So it could just be that these ones are $100.
We ain't doing church.
But yeah, now we can only speculate, but I'm sure more information will continue to surface in the upcoming months. Finally, the release date is unknown too, but the report mentions that we can expect the earbuds sometime around February next year. Moving on, let's go back to talking about Apple, since we have a report that shares detailed information about the camera specs of the iPhone 15. Cupertino is focusing a lot on camera performance of the upcoming series, so let's start with the base models. Both the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus will get bumped to a 48 megapixel main sensor. The report suggests that it isn't the same sensor as the current iPhone 14 Pro. Instead, both models will get a new Sony sensor that will have a stacked design, which will help reduce the readout time in low light. We actually heard about this recently. But then moving on to the Pro, it will apparently remain with the current 48 megapixel sensor that we have, but we'll get a new, better ultra-wide camera. We can also expect improvements to the telephoto camera quality, despite the possibility that it could be the same hardware. And finally, the Pro Max models get the spotlight this year, since it will be the first model to include a periscopic zoom lens that is reported to go between 5x and 10x. Analysts suggest that the company decided to make the periscope exclusive to the bigger model because of the extra space the phone
God
has.
damn it,
The
stomach.
camera module will be noticeably larger than it's on the 15 Pro and the previous generation Pro Max. We also heard that next year's Pro models will be bigger, which will allow the periscope to fit in both models. So yeah, it seems the Pro Max is the way to go this year. And finally, for the most interesting news today, let's try out Google, because guess what? They just leaked the Pixel 8 once again. Don't you just love how this is happening a week before Apple's events? I mean, even Ice Universe has been all over Galaxy leaks. But anyways, this time, the flagship Pixels listing accidentally went live on a Pixel Simulator website, providing a 360-degree look of the phone for all angles. I mean, the simulator showcased the Pixel 8 Pro in 3 colors: sky, licorice, and porcelain. It also revealed the location of the microphone's C ports and power and volume keys, and confirmed the addition of that temperature sensor on the camera rear visor, which makes me wonder what features Google will be offering with this temperature sensor. Also, it was rumored the company had plans to skip the physical SIM card and follow Apple's footsteps for eSIM, but it seems the simulator shuts that down, and I am so happy about that, because US carriers do not understand how to do this right. We do see the SIM tray that we saw on the Pixel 7 screens. Last night, the simulator was still usable, but Google has since removed it, and hey, it's kind of like you didn't see it. And if that's not enough spoilers for you, Evan Glass posted a Pixel 8 Pro render in the sky shade. Rumors were previously referring to this new color as sky blue. He also shared screenshots of what appeared to be the Pixel 8's home screen with different wallpapers.
I think they're getting
Anyways, in
third-party,
today's question, let us know. I mean, what do you think about the leaks for this Pixel 8 Pro? Because I actually like that rounded look of this device. It looks so Galaxy S23 just to play nicely. But that's just me. Leave us a comment down below. We love to know your opinion. Friends, again, if you want to get the news earlier, follow us on Pagano.com and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow us on social media, so our extended coverage happens on Instagram. And follow me on my personal handles to see me ask the obvious questions. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Rumor has it upcoming iPhone models will make the switch from Lightning to USB-C charging. This is a big deal because Apple hasn't switched up the iPhone's charging port since 2012. That's back when the iPhone 5 made the move from the 30-pin connector, which was first introduced on the iPod, to the Lightning system. There are a lot of perks that could come from iPhone switching to USB-C, so
Thank you.
now, Apple's making this switch not necessarily because it wants to, but because it has to. The European Union adopted a law requiring all phones to be compatible with USB-C chargers. This could have a lot of benefits for users. Notably, USB-C offers much faster charging and data speeds. For example, with more recent iPhone models, you can get the battery up to 50% in around 30 minutes using a Lightning to USB-C cable, according to Apple. Meanwhile, you can get almost a full charge with phones from companies like OnePlus or Motorola in that same time span. Reports say Apple could bump up wired fast charging to 35 watts in some iPhone 15 models. Right now, Apple recommends charging the iPhone 14 lineup with a minimum 20 watt adapter. USB-C can also support data transfer speeds up to 40 gigabits per second. Lightning only supports up to 480 megabits per second. For those of us immersed in the Apple ecosystem, having one universal charger will make things a lot easier and less messy. Other Apple devices like MacBooks and most iPads already use USB-C charging, so it makes sense for iPhones to do the same. And when you're out and about, I'm sure those Android users who spent the last several years voting would be happy to hear those arguments. Which brings up another perk. Unlike Lightning, USB-C isn't proprietary for Apple.
What?
Several other electronics makers also use USB-C, meaning chances are
They were hurt.
you have a USB-C cable lying around. And
How did you let that team come right all back? Entire team is back.
Now, Apple has a way of making people buy its own products and accessories. It's been running the Made for iPhone certification program for years. This is how outside manufacturers who want to tap into Apple's user base can get that official stamp of approval on products like chargers or MagSafe friendly cases. Now the question is, with the switch to USB-C, will Apple have a similar program to distinguish certain USB-C chargers above others? That could mean Apple potentially limits the iPhone 15 to only have faster charging or data speeds with accessories that are part of its ecosystem. Hopefully this isn't the case though, because the whole point of the EU's law is to make it easier for people to use any charger on any small device. Also, MacBooks and iPads have had USB-C for years, and Apple hasn't implemented a charger certification program with those products. All these questions and speculations should be cleared up soon when Apple likely announces the iPhone 15 lineup during its event on September 12th. There may be other surprises too. Reports suggest Apple could also announce updated AirPods with a USB-C charging case. So we'll see if the updated iPhone ends up sharing the spotlight. In the meantime, stay tuned into CNET's coverage before, during, and after the event for all the latest Apple news and product reviews. Thanks for watching.
I didn't think you could hear space. How come it's so loud outside? It's nice and cozy in here. I feel like we need some tunes. Where's the button? 1 second. I've seen some gameplay footage. Watched a few streamers, fell asleep in 99% of them. Literally, sitting there. One thing that really popped out to me, a lot of looting in this game. So, since we're the gloat, greatest looter of all time, that might be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. I don't know.
Clearly, you're the worst.
So we're playing Star Citizen today. Starfield Citizen, guys. You know how these Bethesda games are, man. They got this little intro, they're gonna introduce your characters where you pick your class, where you pick your suit, you go put your rocket launcher on your shoulder, you go up, you fly out, you get into a spaceship, you go across the universe, and you dominate as a warlord of intergalactic dimensions. We know how it goes. Who is this guy that we're trading? What do we want? Here we go. You earn the attention of an annoying, adoring fan who will show up randomly and jabber at you. And I feel like this is realistic, right? People want to get
cool.
Love this. When we were in Palm Springs, I did a video on what I could fit in this little tiny bag here, and I had an entire camera kit with a 100-watt flash, interchangeable lens camera with a viewfinder, and a 7-foot light stand. The one thing that I didn't think about was to keep in theme of being small. I didn't use a small flash trigger. I had like a normal flash trigger on there, which is as big as the camera. I should have used a really small flash trigger. So that's what today's video is about, is the world's smallest flash triggers. The smallest flash trigger in the world is this thing here. It's that's the transmitter and the receiver. It's flash Q. I don't use it, but I'll get to this in a minute here. These are the normal flash triggers. These are what's out there for triggering multiple flashes, different light settings, and they're pretty big. I mean, this is what it looks like. That's what I was using. There's this one here by Flashpoint, which is a little bit smaller. I mean, you can see it's a little narrower, but the size-wise, I mean, it's the same length. It looks exactly the same that way. It's a little narrower this way, but when it's on this little tiny GM5, it's still kind of big. I mean, it's smaller, but it's still kind of big. In the old days, they used to use cords. So you could put here's one. This is a TTL trigger. And so you can actually transmit all the information from your camera to your flash, and you can go like this and trigger it. There's one for each brand. This particular one is for
whatever, Sony, Panasonic, Canon. They make, this is Bello, and they come in different lengths. This is a 6-foot length, so you put your flash on here, and you can have TTL, manual, whatever. It's like having it right on the hot shoe. It transfers all the information. So that's one way of doing it. If you want to do it wirelessly, like if you have your flash on a stand, 5 or 10 or 20 feet away, then you want to go wireless. They do have long cords. They have really long cords if you want to do that, and there's nothing wrong with using cord. You just can't do high-speed sync with a cord. You can with this, but you can't with the basic PC cord or these other wireless simple ones I'm using. So it's a matter of what it is that you're trying to do. I do not use high-speed sync with little flashes like this. It gives you double the power. With any flash, high-speed sync cuts your power in half, so I like to have the power maximized. So lately I have not been using high-speed sync. So you don't need any of the fancy flashes. You can use these simple triggers here. So here's the ones that are really small. Here's the ones that I like. These are basic ones here, and what they have is the transmitter and the receiver have little dip switches on them, and you just have to match it. This is your channel. Like if you have like number 1 up and 2, 3, 5 down, 4, then you just do the same thing on here. You just have the same position of dip switches. So this is the transmitter. Look how small this is. This is the perfect size for this little camera here. Now look at it. Now that looks more proportional than this. I mean, obviously, for this little camera, this is just the right size. And then this goes on your flash. Now, either if you're using a speed light, see it's got a hot shoe on here, you put your speed light on there, and now it's wireless. You can put this wherever you want. This wire comes off. Or if you have a PC sync outlet on your flash, then you use the cord. It's optional. But look how small this is. This is nice small. So there's different versions of this. This one's by Neewer. That's the transmitter. That's the receiver. Here's one by Godox. This is a Godox RT16. Here's the transmitter. Here's the receiver. Again, the dip switches, same thing. Very lightweight, very small. It's good for little tiny cameras. Now we get to this thing here. This is the FlashQ trigger. It's the world's smallest flash trigger. You put the transmitter on the camera. Look how small it is. That's a flash trigger right there. I made a video about this. And then here's the receiver that you put on your flash. Now again, you got a choice. You got a hot shoe here, which you can just put on your flash if your flash has a shoe on it. If your flash doesn't have a shoe, but it has a PC sync thing, and you use this thing, you stick this in there, and this, then now, like this AD200 here, there's I don't know if any of you even know this, there's a little secret compartment here that you open up, and in here is a USB connection and a 3.5 millimeter connection, and you just stick that in there, 1/8 inch, whatever. And then now you have your receiver here. Now I know this is wireless, so this will work with these things here. If you just want to have straight, easy wireless, this has built-in wireless. But if you use these little tiny things, this is again won't work with the wireless that's built into it, so you have to do that kind of setup. So now you've got a little tiny transmitter here and a little tiny receiver here. Any flash that has a PC sync will work with this setup. Now, why am I not using this? Because it's so small and practical. Well, this is kind of not easy. I don't like things where I have to remember all these secret things. There's 2 buttons on each one here. And I've had this before. I was in Europe, and I said, oh, okay, I got the small flash trigger. This is great. And now I look at these 2 buttons. I go, where's the on button? It's got one that has, one of the buttons has a dot and the other button has a star. Like, okay, this is too cryptic for me. Which one of these is the on button? And then what do? Well, the way you turn it on is the dot is actually the on button. You hold it in for 3 seconds, and then the light comes on and flashes, and then after it comes on, it flashes green, and then you push both buttons, and the blue light comes on, and that says it's ready to pair. So you have to pair these 2 things. Now you turn this one on, you hold this button button in for 3 seconds till it turns green, and you push both buttons till it turns blue, and then you pair it, and then it flashes blue, and then you can actually trigger it, and then it flashes red, and then you go, oh my god, it flashed red. Is that a warning sign? Is something not working? Well, the red means it's flashing. So it's like it's got red, blue, green. It's got 2 buttons on each, which you have to hold them in for 3 seconds this, and then 3 seconds that. And it's just too complicated. I just want to turn it on. Like, here's an on button right there. Click, it's on. And it's ready to go. I mean, I don't want to have to go through all this. It's like when I'm on location, my mind blanks out. I don't remember all these rules. I don't have to read a manual. So this is just too complicated. I wish they would just like have an on button and it pairs automatically and then it's done. So that's why I don't use the flash cue. Now here's something just as small as the flash cue, and this is the same also here. This is just a really basic manual. Now this is wireless, obviously, and it's only a single channel. Now this thing here, this is old school. you put it on your camera, and then you get a cord. Here's one with the cord. You put a cord on it, right? Here's a cord, and there, it's on. Now you take this, and this is a long cord. It's a really long cord, 10 feet long. And then you put the other end in your flash, and you're ready to go. I mean, look at this, how long this cord is. This flash could literally be 10 feet away from the camera, way over there on a stand. There's nothing wrong with the cord. Like, if you're a wedding photographer, this is all you need. Like, why do you need wireless? I mean, the flash is only 2 feet from the camera. And that's another thing about some of these. If the transmitter is too close to the receiver, it won't work. You need it like more than 2 or 3 feet apart for it to work. So this is actually a pretty good set. I mean, I like this. It's not bad. Now, here's another one here. This is kind of cool. This is an old school Godox transmitter receiver. Again, you got the dip switches on here. That determines your channel. And now this thing is, I kind of like this thing. It's kind of cool. It looks like an old walkie-talkie. You put that on your camera. It looks like retro, doesn't it? And now this thing has a old school USB thing on the back that you open and close. Now that goes into the USB thing on your AD200. When you use something like this, you turn off the wireless on here. So it's just manual. And now that's ready to go. And now I turn this on. Look at this, on switch, ready to go. You make sure all the switches are in the same position. And now this is really cool here. See how it says on here 1/64th? You can actually change the power setting, and if you look over here, look at that, it's changing on the flash. So you can wirelessly change the power setting on the flash with this thing. This is really cool. I like it. This one is just so cool looking. And of course you can trigger it too. And it even has a little beep, an optional beep. I love this thing. It's retro, small. This is a, what is this? This is a XT16. It uses a couple of AA batteries in there. And if nothing else, it looks cool. And this works with the AD360, the AD200, and the older flashes that still use the original USB connector in here. Now, here's where it gets really cool. This is where I got the thrill the most. I said, man, if only I could do a little tiny trigger like this with the AD100, because I didn't see any plug or anything on here. But guess what? There's a secret compartment on here. There actually is, check this out, on the back here, there actually is a plug. And now you're ready to go. And again, you got to make sure that wireless is off, okay? Then you got, so here we've got your receiver, and now here I'm going to put my little transmitter on here, the really small one. This is the Neewer one. Here's the on switch. There, it's ready to go. Okay, so now all I got to do is, wait, is this on? Is there an on? Yeah, there's an on switch here. Okay, so now turn on the camera. And, oh, it flashed. Did you see that? Now, the only thing about this is, obviously, you have to change your power setting manually on here. You got to raise the power setting on the flash manually, and then you trigger it with your camera. So, check this out. See? Oh, it's too close. I got to back this up. So, see, look. So now I can, I'm so happy with this because now I can trigger this really small flash. It's 100 watt seconds, it's more powerful than a speed light with a really tiny little flash trigger. So keeping it small, this is how it should be. Look at that. That flash trigger is the right size for that camera. And I have a really small flash, and I can do multiple of these too. I mean, they're going to be, you have to manually set the flash, the power on the back of these things. So this is how you can have a different powered flash, even though you're using multiple flashes, each one can be a different power setting, but you got to manually set them, and then you can trigger them all with the same trigger here. Or you can, of course, just use a wire between the camera and the flash. And then you can have it as close as you want, as far away as you want, up to 10 feet or whatever. I mean, you can have a long wire, but this is, look at this. This is so cool. I mean, how simple is this? You got a camera with a wire running to a flash. No wireless necessary, and you can flash all you want. And, I love this. So it depends what you're using and what you're using it for and how you're using it, what determines what it is you're using. But you can get some, look at these little things. Look at these little tiny flash triggers. These are so cool and so fun because they're small. Here's the transmitter, here's the receiver. Here's the transmitter, here's the receiver. Here's the transmitter, here's the receiver. And or you can do that with a cord, with a cord. So there's different ways to go. I love this thing. This thing is kind of cool. I'll put the links down below if I have them. Sometimes the older stuff is just. I did a big video focusing on the 7700 XT, the 7070 and 5, start functioning GPU. That didn't make sure it went on sale this morning as the time of filming. You guys are probably seeing this video tomorrow in relation to me filming. We are seeing a bunch of them available at the MSRP of $500 or slightly above. However, I should mention that the particular model I am showing off in this video was sent to me by Power Color. That's how I got a review sample of the 7800 XT, and huge thank you for them doing that. And it's the Red Devil version, which is one of the highest end cooler models, and does have some awesome box here too, by the way. I think this might be the limited edition one on the box. And FPS average through this scene. Other scenes may perform differently, which is a 24% increase over the 4070, and the 6950 XT hits 66 FPS, which is a 29% lead over the 4070. But this game, even the developers themselves, specifically, in their system requirements list and all that, mentioned, you should probably be using upscaling. We've seen that from other Unreal Engine 5 games. So let's kick on some upscaling. This is DLSS and FSR2 at the quality setting. And notice that all the GPUs gained massively in performance. This engine seems to respond very well to upscaling as performance uplift. The 4070 is now hitting 81 FPS, the 7800 XT is 12% ahead of that at 91, and the 6950 XT is at 96 FPS. And image quality-wise, I do think in the fine details, especially in motion, like if you look at the character movement and things like that, I do think the DLSS upscaling did look better than what we were getting from the FSR2 image quality, but it still looked pretty good with FSR2. Immortals of Avium at 1080p resolution. Welcome to 1080p at the Ultra preset with no upscaling. All of these GPUs provide a good experience, with the RTX 4070 hitting about 76 FPS and the 7800 XT hitting 88 FPS, which is 16% more than that. The 6950 XT hitting 94 FPS, 24% increase on that. The 1% lows actually offered an even larger lead for the AMD GPUs. Also, I don't think it makes sense to kick on upscaling at 1080p when you're already getting these frame rates. So we're going to leave it here. This game does have frame generation, but at least at launch, the targeting reticle was completely destroyed when using it, so I did not choose to test that here. Remnant 2 performs better than it did at launch at the Ultra preset. I think that's mostly because they broke out the virtual shadow maps and had those turned off by default now on the Ultra preset. But anyway, at 1440p Ultra, this is another demanding Unreal Engine 5 game. This uses Nanite, but not Lumen. Here we're seeing the 4070 is good for 60 FPS in this scene that has a lot of geometric detail. And the 7800 XT hits 74 FPS, 23% better than that. And the 6950 XT is hitting 78 FPS, which is 30% better than the 4070, but again, within a few FPS of the 7800 XT.
But again, this is another game where the developers, in using Unreal Engine 5, explicitly said it was kind of designed with upscaling in mind, performance-wise. And so we enable upscaling at the quality setting. Again, DLSS SR2 without any frame generation enabled. The 47 is able to hit 89 frames per second. 7800 XT is now 12% ahead of that at 100 FPS. And the 6950 XT is hitting at 101, so basically tied with 78 watts. So do you buy the 7800 XT? Well, if your budget is $500, absolutely yes. The question really is it worth spending $100 more to get something else? And first of all, let me answer that question about its AMD competitor, the 6950 XT. I don't think that's worth the extra $130 that it costs on the current market. Doesn't make sense. It draws more power. It doesn't have AV1 encoding. Some of the newest AMD features are going to run better or even exclusively on the 7000 series.
I don't know if I'm not holding E down, but I fucking think I'm holding E down this whole time.
Anti-lag. And there's questions on whether FSR3 might even be accelerated better on the newer generation, question mark. Anyway, the point is, I just don't think the 6950 XT makes sense. Against the 7800 XT, save yourself $130. The 4070 is a much more interesting question. Now, this one's going to come down to the nuances. I think, honestly, it's very easy to just say the 7800 XT is generally outperforming it, and it costs less. Buy yourself a 7800 XT. And hey, if you're going to be playing a lot of Starfield, like I said, I know like people with the thousands of hours on Skyrim and all that. If this is your next game, I mean, there you go. Grab yourself the 7800 XT. But, again, this is where it's situational. The 4070 does have some things going for it that could be worth $100 extra to a certain set of people. You need to figure out if you are in this set of people, okay? So, everybody plays different games, everybody plays them differently. Personally, I mean, a lot of the games I'm playing right now, like Baldur's Gate 3, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in that. There's no ray tracing. Remnant 2, there's no ray tracing, and in Unreal Engine 5, we're seeing some big leads for the 7800 XT, right? Immortals of Avium, there's no dedicated hardware RT version of the Lumen in this game. So, you know, a lot of the new games coming out right now, no ray tracing, 7800 XT gets good frame rates. Yeah, awesome. Let's just go ahead and do that. However, some people are literally going to always turn on upscaling at the quality setting if they're running an NVIDIA GPU. If DLSS quality offers really good image quality, close to native, and it does offer a healthy boost in performance, then a lot of people will just generally enable this by default. And personally, you know, I'm more likely, if a game, how should I put this? You know, while FSR2 quality doesn't look that much worse than DLSS quality, it does look worse, and that means I'm more likely to turn on DLSS than I am to turn on FSR. That's just the case, and so a lot of times, if you think about optimized settings for a game, right? I'm not one of the people who think that DLSS generally looks better than native, but I do think it looks very close to native, and it's often, if you just think of it as any other graphics setting, I would often, very frequently, turn on the setting to gain a big boost of performance without much of a hit to visual quality. And I'm less likely to do that with FSR2 because it feels like I'm taking a slightly higher hit to visual quality. And when you do that, if you look at like the frame rate of running Immortals of Avium with DLSS quality enabled, 81, it's still losing to the 7800 XT when it's running FSR2 quality. But if you compare it to the 7800 XT when it's not upscaling, that's down here at 63. So, in other words, we see a lot of games right now that seem to be designed with most of the graphics settings optimization that they offer, if you want to call it optimization, is upscale. Immortals of Avium is a lot like that. Remnant 2 is a lot like that. Heck, Starfield doesn't offer a lot of actual just like low settings to ultra setting scalability, and it builds FSR upscaling into its presets. We do see a growing trend of games that seem to be designed to play with upscaling on, and if you are going to play with upscaling on, DLSS does offer the better upscaler. And so that I think is where a lot of the value of the 4070 being worth $100 extra might come into play for you. Now, there's also the DLSS 3 frame generation thing, and I really want to hold off and wait for FSR 3 to be available before we talk too much more about that, because we should be seeing FSR 3 in games like Immortals of Avium and Forspoken coming, they said early fall, so hopefully very, very soon. And then we could get an idea of how it compares to DLSS frame generation. DLSS frame generation is situational. Because there's an impact to latency, because it delays showing you a real frame to insert a generated frame, you're not going to want to use it in competitive games. And it can have an image quality compromise. In Immortals of Avium, for example, if you watch my video testing that game out on a variety of GPUs, you'll see that the crosshairs have a lot of ghosting happening. And other games have similar issues, but in other games it works very well. But what it's basically providing you, I wouldn't really consider increased performance, because it doesn't make the game more responsive. I would consider it increased motion fluidity. So it does a good job of helping you take advantage of a high refresh rate monitor to get a nice smooth camera panning, look, that kind of stuff. You wouldn't get the lower frame rate, but you want a high enough base frame rate for it to look good and to feel responsive. So maybe even already 60 FPS. The game needs to support it, not every game does. And again, it has to be a game where you're getting good enough performance and would want to enable it and doesn't have egregious image quality artifacts. So it's a situational feature that's cool. I'm interested to see how FSR 3 competes.
How do I hit
now,
E and
I'm
it
gonna
doesn't
say,
fucking jump out?
For some people, that's going to be a cool value add again for the 4070. And if you do enable frame generation in games that support it, you will generally have the 4070 offering a higher frame rate than the CFB 800 XT without frame generation. But that high frame rate number doesn't really correspond to that same frame rate number when it's not achieved through frame generation. So that's really hard to put a hard number on in a value proposition in a video like this. But the just standard reconstruction algorithm, DLSS does look a little bit better than FSR2, so if you're going to be using upscaling, there's a bit of an argument for that. And FSR 3 upscaling, AMD has said that improving the image quality of the upscaling algorithm was not the main focus. So focus on adding in their AMD fluid motion frames, their competitor to the generated frames, frame generation. So I doubt the image quality of the reconstruction is gonna change there. So bit of value add there on the 4070, and the other big obvious one is the power consumption. It is a very large difference in power consumption, and for some people, that means that you don't need to buy a bigger power supply, which then eats into the cost difference, right? But if your power supply can support both of them, then it financially hits you maybe a little bit on your energy bill. Maybe you live in a super high energy area. It's probably going to take a long time, and you have to game a lot for that to eat up $100 price cap, right? But something to think about. Also, if you live in a high temperature area, one thing to point out, a lot of people misunderstand, this is 60 Celsius. That's a 61 Celsius. So is the 4070 putting out about the same or even slightly more heat into your case? Absolutely not. The 7800 XT is putting out more heat into your case because the watts are how much heat is going out into your case and therefore your bedroom or wherever, office, or wherever you have your PC. The cooler is trying to push the heat off of the GPU, which keeps the GPU cool, but more energy, more watts, means more heat exiting the card regardless of the temperature the GPU is running at. Which means that if you live in a hot environment, maybe you lack air conditioning, that kind of a thing, the 40s, or maybe your just PC case doesn't have great cooling, the 4070 should also put out less heat into your environment. So like I said, there's a lot of these little feature set advantages for the NVIDIA GPU. Productivity workloads I'm not focusing on here, but there are some that are more designed for the market share leader, which is NVIDIA. So they're more tuned for NVIDIA's CUDA cores, that kind of thing, a lot of AI workloads, all of that. So there's definitely those kinds of advantages. There's also the ray tracing advantage, which we can talk about a bit here, but notice that because the 7800 XT is generally faster than the 4070, it does mean that then when the ray tracing workload isn't particularly demanding, the 7800 XT is still hanging in there, either losing by a few percent, or like we saw in Fear with the hardware accelerated Lumen, or we had games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, where they're basically tied with ray tracing enabled. And the thing is, a lot of games are programmed with consoles as their main focus for development. Consoles don't have a lot of ray tracing performance; they have less than the 7800 XT does. So a lot of times they won't be programmed with a heavy ray tracing workload, and when that's the case, you're actually not getting a better experience on the 4070, or at least not by much. Oftentimes basically tied. We saw that again in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Very similar performance with ray tracing able. But there are some games that do, for the PC, offer a higher level of ray tracing, like when I cranked all of the settings in Ratchet & Clank, we saw a 50% advantage for the 4070. You can see things like that happen when Cyberpunk, RT Ultra, RT Overdrive, Cyberpunk's getting a new expansion out, right? If you're going to want to play that with RT Overdrive, you're definitely going to be upscaling, which will look better on the NVIDIA GPU, and if you're cranking the ray tracing settings, the 4070 will offer better performance, right? So there are situations where the 4070 is able to do something better, or that the 7800 XT just can't even realistically do. So definitely something to think about there. But does that mean you should buy the 4070 over the 7800 XT when in many, many games there's no ray tracing, the 7800 XT is getting such good performance without upscaling that maybe you wouldn't even enable it, and it costs $100 less. So I think for a lot of people, let me put it this way, I think 7800 XT absolutely offers better value. There's no question on that. I think if the 7800 XT and the 4070 cost the same, if they were both $500, that's NVIDIA, can you please get the 4070 down to like 500? I know it's probably too much to ask from the company that's just raking in billions or trillions or whatever it is on AI right now. Then this would be more of a toss-up between features. A little bit more raw performance or better feature set, pick your poison if they cost about the same. And that's where we've been in the past between the 4070 and the 6950 XT, because those cost about the same. But with 7800 XT costing $100 less, it just really is the more compelling value. But again, if you can scale up to $100, and that's not a problem for you, the question is just, should you? Again, think about your game playing, your feature set. Are you somebody who would usually play with upscaling enabled? Then maybe the 4070 is the better deal, right? Are you somebody who plays the single-player titles and you want to crank the ray tracing settings and you're going to upscale to do that, right? So there is an argument for the 4070, but you have to reach for it being situational, right? So the 4070 is not, in general, better than the 7800 XT, but it does some things better than the 7800 XT. Last thing I can mention is the 7800 XT does have 16 gigabytes of VRAM versus 12 in the 4070. Right now, that's not showing as a big deal at 1080p or 1440p, but in general, in the future, VRAM usage tends to go up over time, and there are definitely games that are right at that 12 gigabytes right now. We're already seeing that in things like Ratchet and Clank. So anyway, definitely something to keep your eye on in the future. Hopefully this was useful. I know some of you probably wanted me to just say, buy the 4070 or buy the 7800 XT, but again, it's situational. It really depends on what you're going to prefer out of those features. Also, personally, I'd kind of wait and see what we get out of FSR 3. That's a question mark, and hopefully we'll see it soon. You don't have to rush out and buy something right this minute, right? Anyway. Hopefully you guys found this video useful and interesting to go into all of the detail, all of the depth, all of that, and I hope all of you have a nice day.
Something like this pops up every few months, and before we get into today's video, I would like to state that usually I don't even see it. I will have no idea if there's some Twitter thread about me, or Reddit, or 4chan, or whatever else, unless I am told. My mentions are so filtered that I won't see you tag me. Like, I literally just have no idea this is even happening. And if people do tell me enough that it's happening, I generally don't care. And the reason for that is because I frankly feel like I am too old, and I've felt that way for a long time. I'm not worried about what someone's saying about me on YouTube or on Twitter. I'm a grown woman with bills to pay. I'm worried about taxes. My sister had a baby yesterday. Like, I couldn't be less concerned about, like, what some dudes are tweeting. You know? So I don't ever read any content about myself at all. But this one time, I wanted to make a video about it, just to, like, say my piece, because this is starting to happen so frequently. And I'm like, let me just say the thing, and then get back out, and, like, go back to minding my own business. There was another guy who was like, I'm so sorry about what all the PlayStation Brazilian fans have been saying to you. I don't speak Portuguese. A, wouldn't have known it was a thing if you haven't told me. B, wouldn't have understood it. Thank you. That is a nice thing to say, but literally will not know it exists unless you tell me. I prefer you just don't tell me. I'm good. That is the most important thesis of this video, but there's another thing that I want to say as well. So, a particularly upstanding citizen of the internet here tweeted this in response to me playing Starfield. He said, Alana should be fired for promoting Xbox games on a public platform like this. Extremely unprofessional and demonstrates a lack of loyalty and seriousness to PlayStation, her employer, at Herman Hulse. add Corey Ball. Which, as an aside, Corey and I spent about 10 minutes before our meeting today talking about the stuff we were doing in Starfield and how much we were enjoying it, so good luck with that one. I'm also quite confident that if I DM'd Herman and were like, hey, how are you liking Starfield? He'd be like, it's great! But yes, Bethesda.net shared this with me, and my reply was, you don't need to share it with me. Like, never feel like you need to share this with me. I don't care. And it happens all the time. Actually, there was one time that it happened where I didn't even know it was happening, but a bunch of people were very mad at me because I love Tunic until Phil Spencer DM'd me and was like, I'm sorry, it's happening. It's like, I didn't even know. I would never know unless you told me. But yes, we're going to talk about it very quickly today just to, like, get it out there about, like, how absurd this misconception is. And then I'll just get back to playing video games, because that's what I do. For the reference, I do have this person blocked, which is very uncommon. I only have 700 people blocked on Twitter, and, you know, I have 500,000 followers. Like, I do not block many people at all. I would say 50% of those blocks are because somebody did something and I found it funny to block them. Sometimes there are people who I suspect, like this one, I'm not actually sure, I don't know who this is. People will warn me about, like, they'll have enough people be like, hey, this person is doing this, or, like, harassing you, or whatever. And they've done it frequently enough that I will just go and block them based on someone telling me to. Like, I haven't even
Dude, you got me fried. Why did you drive me into that? Why'd you drive me into that?
In any case, the replies to the tweet are quite funny. You're just like, they had to turn their replies off because people were dunking on them so hard for this absurd take. And it is absurd. This is like, just ridiculous, and I'm sure most of you know that. But, there have been some sane people who've asked me questions about how this works as well, and I'm like, let me just address it. I work at Santa Monica Studio, and I love working there. It's the best job I've ever had. I'm so happy there. I love my job. I love the people I work with. Like, I think I work at one of the best game studios in the entire world. That is my honest opinion of working in SMS. I think the studio is incredible. I work with so many people who have so much talent and experience, and like I said, I think some of the best in the entire industry. That is my stance on the place that I work. Similarly, I also have friends who work at Bethesda, and I have friends who work at Xbox, and I have friends who work at Nintendo. When you work in the industry for a long time, I'm over 10 years now, you end up making friends who work a lot of places. And I think one thing that people don't realize is that the console wars don't really exist inside the industry. In fact, there are people on my direct team at Santa Monica Studio who came from Xbox, who just worked at an Xbox studio. Santa Monica Studio will have people leave, who will then go to work at Microsoft studios. Like, I get that these, like, console fanboys think that there's, like, this constant war, but the truth is, the games industry has people sharing around all the time between many of these companies because there are only so many jobs available in game development. And if there's anything consistent for all of the people that I know who work at PlayStation, or who work at Nintendo, or who work at Xbox, it's that they don't care. The reality of working in game development, or at least my reality, this is my experience, of course other people may have had different experiences, I'd be very surprised if any of it differs very much. I'm not talking about people who work in PR and marketing whose, like, job it is to sell the brand. That's not my job. All I actually care about is doing my job and doing it well. Of course I want people to like the stuff I'm working on, and of course I want it to be successful. But I pretty similarly want every other game in the industry to be the same way. Working in the games industry is amazing and
I want the games to be good. Wow. Hot take. Ahem. Ahem. Who grabbing the ball? Who grabbing the ball, Chief? Give me some protection. Give me some protection on that, buddy. They got the ball now.
Overshield available. We have the ball.
Lost a teammate.
Ball dropped. We have the ball.
Stay up here. Just stay up here. Oh shit. Yeah.
I got 4 done. I just fucked everyone up. They're coming up to you. Backside, your backside, move! Your backside!
We have the ball.
Another one down.
Halfway to victory.
Plasma grenades acquired. Overshield available.
I'm not that guy. Don't come after me like that.
We have the ball. Ball dropped. We have the ball.
Get some grenades down there. Yo, get some grenades down there.
Ball dropped.
We've lost possession.
Enemy has the ball.
S7 sniper inbound.
Double kill, I took the ball, and now I'm in the lead. Ooh, where we going? Where we going? Where we going? Am I the greatest or what? I'm the world's greatest. What? Look at me with 8 kills and 3 deaths. Who are you? Who are you?
I'm just saying that.
Who are you?
What's your current rank?
Who are you? I don't even play this game. My current rank.
Overshield inbound. Overshield available.
I'm the world's greatest. I'm the world's greatest. I held the ball and I made that much happen.
Enemy has the ball. Ball dropped. We have the ball.
Hostile carrier down.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball. Halfway to
He got the ball.
ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Hey y'all. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this ball.
Overshield available.
Ball dropped.
Shields are down.
have the ball.
Enemy Spartans are closing in.
Allied carrier down.
Nearing victory.
Next-gen sniper inbound.
Ball dropped. Enemy has the ball.
Battery low.
Oh, thank heavens. A long-range weapon.
And I got the ball, baby! Woo! I'm the world's greatest!
We have the ball.
I'm more than a +2. Tell me I'm not the greatest. Tell me I'm not the greatest. The world's greatest. The world's greatest.
Personality kind of sucks.
I don't really care. You don't even know my personality. You've heard me say 3 words. Get a life. Bye-bye. Your personality kind of sucks, bitch. I'm the world's greatest. Hey, we're gonna play a little bit of FIFA real quick now. Let's go back to this. A lot of Pierce.
Exciting, and I've been in it for as long as I have because I love video games. But it's exciting because realistically, the technology is actually in its infancy. Like, we're still figuring out what we're doing. People are making huge leaps every year. The way video games look now is going to look so different in 50 years' time because the industry still has so much room to progress. Frankly, I see video games as like almost limitless because as the hardware progresses, video games can progress. Like, we can't even fathom the kind of games that we'll be playing in 20 years. Everything is about technical limitation, and there's not necessarily a cap on hardware progression, thus there is not necessarily really a cap on game dev progression. So when a big game comes out and people are excited about it, the whole industry is excited about it. I'm excited for my friends who work at Xbox. Like I said, virtually every dev when something like this happens is just excited about it. Like a big blockbuster game that's taken 10 years to make and has a huge budget, like everyone else is like, oh my god, I can't wait to play it, let's play it. Corey, they tagged him. But somebody else shared a tweet where Corey is talking about how excited he was to play Starfield. Like, what did you think was going to happen? So upset. People in the games industry like and care about video games as a whole. I am not concerned about sales or pieces of hardware or content. I am concerned about doing my job well and making a good video game and enjoying what everyone else makes too. I have always loved Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. I used to work at Xbox. I have 2 Nintendo tattoos. I currently work at PlayStation. It would not surprise me if I continue to work for all 3 of these companies as I continue in the games industry because I love all of them. I love the stuff they make. I love that they're making different things. Like, I'm just so happy to be here, and it is not my job or the job.
I like
of anyone,
games.
to worry about.
I like games. I like games.
Like, I just
Big
want
deal.
games to be successful,
I have
especially when
fun.
it's single player and don't have my
Staring at a screen.
That is the kind of game that
My
I
hands
love.
around.
So I always
Getting
want every other game in the games industry that follows that same pattern to be as successful as possible. I want it to be a commercial success. So like all
I
these
want
console
games to
fanboys
succeed,
who
so I
care
can
about
continue
this,
making money,
yeah, I know
developing
people care
games,
about your
and
rational
doing what I need to
people
do
who
in
actually
the
work in
games
game
industry to
development,
make
everybody's
money.
just excited about
Thank
video
you.
games, man. Like,
That's my spiel.
tomato. They're just happy that all their friends who work in dev made something cool. And like, of course, you have multiple people who jump between companies. You will end up working with somebody who worked at Bethesda, or end up working with somebody who worked at Santa Monica Studio. Like, it's just the way the industry works. The stuff that you think matters does not matter. It maybe matters to a marketing department or a PR department. I don't know. But I can also tell you a little bit of my experience with the marketing PR departments. So when I worked at Xbox, PlayStation still gave me a PlayStation 4, and they gave me early access to games. There was no hesitation there whatsoever. They still gave me access to PlayStation stuff. Now I work at PlayStation, and Xbox kind of hesitated a little to begin with, and now give me access to codes for Xbox games. But they did used to give me like all the cool stuff, like the controllers and stuff. I don't get that stuff from them anymore. Like, it clearly like was moved around a mailing list a little bit. PlayStation didn't care. Nintendo also didn't care. They gave me everything when I worked at Xbox. Didn't care at all. And nobody at PlayStation or Sony at any point ever has ever told me not to talk about games on other platforms. In reality, the thing that I do have restrictions on is promoting PlayStation. I no longer get early access to PlayStation games. I can't do an early impressions of a PlayStation game. I can't do like my first hour gameplay of a PlayStation game. I have to buy all my PlayStation games, and I buy them on release. There was an ad agency in Australia that wanted to pay me to make part of an ad for Ratchet & Clank because they knew I was super excited about Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, but I guess somebody at Sony said no. It's like a totally respectable, ethical stance of like, you can talk about Xbox and Nintendo all you want. They have never said anything that would in any way disparage me from doing so or discourage me doing so. I just can't get early access to anything PlayStation related. And I don't get the like fun mailer kits that a lot of my friends who work in media get. Like, they get like the newest PlayStation controllers that they share on social media. I don't get any of that kind of stuff. It's like the opposite of what you think it is. As for if I'm biased towards PlayStation or Xbox, the truth is people have been saying this about me in either direction, in both directions, so passionately for as long as I've been speaking about video games. People have called me a PlayStation shill for the last 10 years, and people have called me an Xbox shill for the last 10 years. It depends which side you're on. I have PlayStation fans get very mad at me because I didn't talk about PlayStation enough. I have Xbox fans get mad at me because apparently I don't like certain games because they're on Xbox. The Starfield one's been extra fun because it depends which side of the camp you're on. I really like this game, but I have some criticisms of it, right? That's how I feel about it as a person who just is here. My stance is not like all one or the other because I'm a human being. Some shit. And the PlayStation fans are like, fuck you, you're obsessed with this game, you love it. Like, they don't realize that they're both saying the literal opposite thing. And I don't care if people think I'm biased. Again, it's been happening forever. Think whatever you want. But the actual reality of where I land in the video game landscape, as much as I'm sure it's annoying for a lot of people who are console fanboys, is honestly just that I love video games. I love Xbox, I love PlayStation, I love Nintendo. I just really love video games. That is how I feel, and I want them all to be good, and I'm so happy when any of them are good, especially, again, if they're single-player microtransaction-free experiences. That is my stance. If you're going to criticize me for anything, it would be that sometimes I get too excited. I can get a bit carried away with how excited I am about certain things, and obviously I share that, and if I have influence on you, you could end up being also very excited. But I can't, like, turn that off. Like, I'm just happy to be here, man. And of course, saying this is not going to change the minds of any of these people. Like, I know that. But I did want to be clear about the fact that, like, wow, why is she allowed to talk about Starfield so much? Like, even sane people have been saying that. Like, people who are not all over the console war brigade. It's not a thing. Nobody at Sony is ever going to tell me that I shouldn't talk about Starfield. People have wondered if there were restrictions. I'm like, no, of course not. There are no restrictions on me liking video games. All you'll ever see from the dev community is people supporting other people's games. It's so weird that you, like, forget that when there's a big release. Like, it's all over Twitter. People with PlayStation and people at Nintendo and loving Starfield. That's just the way it is. You get excited about the industry and you're just like happy to be a part of it. So in conclusion, I don't care about this stuff and you don't need to share it with me. I'd prefer if you didn't most of the time. It's not worth it. Second point is the console war stuff that y'all think matters so much doesn't actually matter to anyone on my level. We all just love video games and are excited about video games and new video games being good and having a good time with video games. But no, there are no restrictions, and no one has ever said anything to me at all about how much I like an Xbox game or how much I like a Nintendo game. Now we can just pretend this.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, back.
Well, KSI, how are you? Nice to see you there, Mr. KSI. Let's go with this one.
This is not dated, but it's from 1997, and we might can narrow down the season a little bit better. But a couple of weeks ago on one of the programs, we had ideas that our favorite Stain had come up with for Shotgun Saturday Night Live when that show was debuting, and they were trying to figure out the concept of it and what was going on. Well, I found another 2 pages of notes here that were circulated, and this time it was signed. Ideas regarding talent roster, Vince Russo. So he's taking credit for this one. And every once in a while, and I don't know that this was the names I'm seeing on here are all the people on the talent roster that were kind of floating aimlessly, that were not figured into anything, were not actually doing possibly well in their current incarnations, whatever. The people on the roster that they needed to figure out some way to change, tweak, or do something with, right? So this is not the entire roster. And every once in a while, Vince would ask for ideas on such and such people, or sometimes he'd say the whole roster, or evaluations or whatever. Sometimes JR would ask the same thing. But in this case, it appears that, because I don't remember anybody ever asking for ideas for this list of people, so I think he's taken a bunch of guys, like I said, that were kind of floating and been proactive. Because the one thing that you would get, as we've talked about from this fellow, is a lot of ideas. So I just thought we'd go through some of these. Mark Marrow and Sable. Remember when they were going to, well, they revamped. They revamped Marrow about 3 or 4 times, but they switched him heel at one point to try to give him a new look and a new attitude, right? Because originally he'd come in as a babyface with her in his corner, and as I mentioned to Bruce, why the fuck is anybody going to cheer for him when he's got this blonde with big hoo-haws in his corner? And what's her purpose for being there? Well, she looks great. Well, what's her purpose? She's not his manager. A valet generally accompanies an obnoxious, egotistical heel. So why is this guy that you want people to take as a babyface, whose only position in the business thus far has been impersonating Little Richard, why do you want her to come out with him, and what are the people supposed to think about it? And all they could do, well, they look great together. That was Bruce's thing, that was Vince's thing. It was never explained what her purpose was. So Mark Marrow and Sable, this idea sheet. I think we should go on as scheduled with Marrow and Sable in regards to his new look and new attitude. Well, that's nice of him to say that, since I don't know at the time that he was officially on the creative team. Here, that's when we got to narrow this time frame down. From there, I believe that Marrow should start abusing Sable out of jealousy. Oh my God. Which in turn will turn the fans against him while they cheer for her. That was the problem originally. When he was a babyface, they cheered for her, and she turned the fans against him. He was a spare prick at the wedding. He was useless. They were all looking at her. So anyway, he says he should start abusing her, which in turn will turn the fans against him while they cheer for her. At the appropriate time, a top babyface, maybe Dude Love in parentheses, should go to the aid of Sable, who in turn will go with that babyface. Then at the appropriate time, wait a minute, a top babyface should go to the aid of Sable, who in turn will go with that babyface. Then at the appropriate time, Sable will screw the babyface in favor of Marrow. In other words, it was a work orchestrated between Marrow and Sable all along, thus firmly pitting the fans against them.
It's absolutely Vince Russo, because it's a swerve.
The swerve.
Yeah.
And actually, he's stealing and didn't even know it. He's stealing the fucking dirty white girl and dirty white boy and Tom Pritchard angle from Alabama 10 years previously, and he didn't know because he'd never seen that. However, I love it. He says at the appropriate time, a top babyface, maybe dude. I'm pretty sure this is in one of Cactus's books. But if it's not, or even if it is, there was a time, and it may have been WrestleMania 97, that it would fit. There was a time where the idea was, and maybe, maybe it's 98, I can't remember, but the idea was for, and it could have been 98 because Mick was figured in by then, so it had to be 97. The idea was Mick Foley versus Mark Merrow in some respect, right? Following along this idea. And they told me to call Mick and tell him that he'd be on WrestleMania wrestling Mark Merrow in this idea that they had involving Sable. And I called him up and I pitched it to him, and there was silence on the phone, and then he said, "Horny, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before, but is it okay if I'm just not on WrestleMania?" Because he knew it was death. He didn't want to work on WrestleMania with Mark Merrow over Sable. So anyway, they changed it. Number 2 on this idea sheet, Tiger Ali Singh. Remember him, Tiger Ali Singh's son? Another of he was like the Hindu from Ontario version of Carlos Colon's kids in Puerto Rico. He'd always been the hero's son, and he assumed he was, destined for greatness. So, actually, old shit staying here, sooner or later a blind squirrel will find a nut, and I've got to say that sooner or later I always knew I would agree with something he said, and here it is. Tiger Ali Singh, just let the guy be himself, and the fans will genuinely hate him in capital letters. Doug Furnas and Phil LaFon. Remember one of the great tag teams of the 90s for All Japan Wrestling, but by this point LaFon's knees were shot and he was not the guy that he once was. And Doug Furnas was a beast and the world's strongest man and an athletic marvel, but they didn't fit in the WWF at the time like a lot of just good working tag teams didn't.
And I think that's right around the time people started to realize just how beat up the All Japan guys were.
Yeah, because they've been in All Japan for 10 years. Furnas and LaFon, blanket them in the Japanese flag and have Yokozuna and the Patriot join their cause at the appropriate time.
Yokozuna and the Patriot?
The soldiers of the rising sun. So he's going to turn Del Wilkes the Patriot. This is summer of 97. Come in at that point. Yokozuna was not let go of that. I think he may have been in Duke at that point. Number 4, Mark Henry. Let me come back to
Wait, hold on. You're going like way too fast past the Sons of the Rising Sun.
Oh, okay. Soldiers of the Rising
Soldiers of the Rising Sun. So it's Furnas and LaFon draped in Japanese flags with Yokozuna and the Patriot?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And again, Vince Russo had never seen Doug Furnas before he showed up in the WWF. He hadn't seen him in Continental. He hadn't seen him in All Japan. He hadn't seen him on WCW. He didn't know what the fuck he could do.
So the Patriot would have had
to turn heel and become a Japanese sympathizer.
He would have come out of the Bret Hart feud, upset that America didn't prevail over Canada, and announced that he's renouncing America and he's joined forces with Yokozuna.
Yes, who's Samoan. And number 4, Mark Henry. And let me come back to this one. That's what it says. Let me come back to this one. Number 5, Flash Funk. Remember Too Cold Scorpio, Flash Funk. Easy. Charles Skaggs, and let him be his high-flying self. Flying with an apostrophe and no G. Maybe rub him up against Ahmed Johnson in their cause against the nation.
Rub him up against them?
Yeah. Is it a black thing? Yes, that's what it is. Have a conversation with Skaggs and find out for yourself. Let him denounce the gimmick and just do what he does best. Maybe the nation recruits him, maybe they don't. I think they do. He says no, they kick his ass, and perhaps he recruits Ahmed and Mark Henry to help him kick theirs. How about the posse? Let them be what they are, and that isn't a prejudice statement. Not no D on the end of prejudice.
Wow.
Remember Rick Bogner, the fake razor?
Yeah.
Rick Bogner cut his hair, put him with Tom Brandi, and you have a beautiful Italian hitmen team. But real Italian gangsters don't kill them by gimmicking them.
I don't understand. Real Italian gangsters, unlike what, Tony D'Angelo? Like, what does he say?
I don't have any idea. How if a guy is obviously visually a gangster, an Italian, I know they don't have a mafia type of thing.
No.
If they did,
yeah, if they did, that'd be something I will say. I'm not going to totally shoot down that one because if you really think about timing-wise, that would have been right before The Sopranos. So timing-wise, it may have worked out.
With Tom Brandi and Rick Bogner.
Well, no, I'm not saying. When you add the details, then it kind of kills it.
I mean, Tom Brandi is Italian.
Yes.
And
Sincerely Italian, yeah.
Sincerely, I don't know about Bogner. Is Bogner an Italian name? All righty. Remember Brackus.
Oh, who could forget Brackus?
His real name was Achim Albrecht, and he was a German bodybuilder with a freakish physique, and nice guy, and even the combined efforts of Tom Pritchard, Dory Funk Jr., and everybody else involved could not teach him how to wrestle. Brackus. Brackus will be over the same way Ahmed was. By looking at him, everyone will want to be him.
What?
Either he thought that
he wanted to be Ahmed. Who knew?
Now, bear in mind who's writing this and who the audience is. He knows that Vince is wrapped up in the physiques and everything, so potentially, but I don't know that anybody ever looked at Brackus and said, I want to be that guy. Especially after they saw him try to wrestle.
Wasn't he in Brawl?
Yes. And remember, he had the robot arms in a shoot fight. Imagine how he worked. Darren Drozdov. Easy. Hello, easy. It's easy. I can figure all this shit out. The Boss is a suicidal, crazed football player who was cut from the NFL because he was unbalanced, a deranged and disturbed McMichael, who was on the other channel, Steve McMichael. I don't think he meant to say that he wanted Droz to be suicidal. I think he was mixing that up with, because, Shitstain used to watch ECW for all of his ideas because he couldn't figure out any of his own that applied to wrestling. So I think he's more of a homicidal or even genocidal. He's going for the Sabu tagline, homicidal, suicidal, genocidal. But he picked out, I don't think he wanted Droz to be depressed.
You remember when they first put out those Sabu shirts? This was the first sign there was real heat between Taz and Sabu. Taz was the person in charge of making the shirts for ECW, at least at that point. And the Sabu shirt said homicidal, not homicidal.
Oh my God.
They misspelled homicidal, so it's homicidal, and a lot of people back then were pointing the fingers at Taz saying, that's how much he hates Sabu. That's what he did. Never proved it.
A lot of people can't spell.
That's true, too.
And when you point a finger at someone else, you have three more pointing back at you, but Lanny Poffo said that one time. The power saw has just started up.
Was Randy blowing himself while you just said that? What was that?
Background. Now, come on.
The fuck?
Take any ribs out surgically to be able to do that. That was a complete rumor.
I totally remember.
Number 9, the Honky Tonk Man, on our list of ideas from our favorite shitstain. Honky Tonk Man, say goodbye. In 1997, the Honky Tonk Man isn't going to cut it no matter how much he entertains us. And this was at the time, you'll recall, when Vince had brought Wayne back to manage Rockabilly, who was Billy Gunn, as they were trying to rehabilitate him. Harley is in the background upset at the contractors for running the power saw downstairs. But she's so cute, we're going to leave it in. And by the way, so Wayne, now you know what Vince Russo thought of you in 1997.
Wait, that was it? That was basically just fire, huh?
That was just firing. Just firing. Yeah. Don't send him out to do public relations tour because people know who he is from the golden era. Don't fucking have him do radio stations or, you know, on sales or whatever. Just fire him, send him home.
It would have been something if it was like, have him go away and come back all in leather, the comeback special. But no.
Number 10, along these same lines of get the fuck out of here, Fatu.